If you're given success without first going through hell, somehow in this world, the hell creates itself later. On June 9th, 2024, in downtown Nashville, a small YouTube crew stopped two girls outside a bar and asked a flirtatious question meant to fill a TikTok clip. What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time? One of them asked.
What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
Oh, you gotta give him that Hawk Tuah and spit on that thing.
She even acts it out, half serious, half drunk, then laughs it off. It should have ended there, another forgotten street bit buried under the algorithm, but the internet decided otherwise. Within 48 hours, that 3-second soundbite became a whole thing. Hawk Tuah was a meme, a song sample, a t-shirt slogan, a cultural reflex. She had somehow become the internet's favorite personality overnight. Every repost went viral. Every remix hit millions. Bootleg merch flooded Etsy before she could even react. By the end of the week, Rolling Stone reported her brand had made over $65,000 in sales. Joe Rogan joked about her on his podcast. Someone tattooed Hawk Tuah on their thigh. Eminem slipped it into a teaser for his next album. She was funny and easy to root for, and the world wanted more. But the internet's love always has an expiration date. In 176 days, that same name would be splashed across headlines beside words like fraud, lawsuit, and federal investigation. The girl who made the world laugh with a spit joke would be accused of scamming her own fans through a cryptocurrency called Dollar Hawk, draining investor wallets and vanishing behind lawyers the moment Coffeezilla came knocking. The same public who once called her a national treasure would now call her a scammer. This is the rise, the collapse, and the quiet disappearance of Hawk Tuah Girl. But to understand the crash, you have to see the climb. Before the world called her Hawk Tuah Girl, she was Haliey Welch from Belfast, Tennessee, with a population of 6,000. A place where everyone knows who drives what truck and where every Friday night smells like fried food and dust. She worked 12-hour shifts at a local manufacturing factory and was raised mostly by her grandma. Her life was small but stable, with the occasional night out at the bar with friends. On June 9th, 2024, Tim and DTV, a small YouTube duo known for lighthearted street interviews, were filming outside the bars downtown. They had just 21,000 subscribers at the time, mostly people who stumbled across their Nashville nightlife clips.
What's y'all's biggest non-sexual turn-on?
A man who knows how to dress. If he steps out in a good fit, I'm down.
Your boyfriend know how to dress?
I don't have a boyfriend.
The question that night was simple and crude. The kind of thing meant to get a laugh.
You know how to answer this. You got it.
What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
Oh, you gotta give him that Hawk Tuah and spit on that thing. You get me?
The interviewer froze, then burst into laughter, as if realizing he just caught something special without knowing why. In the raw video, there's no sign she was trying to be famous. It's just one of those chaotic street clips that would normally get a few hundred likes and disappear. Except this one didn't disappear.
Gotta demonstrate.
Hawk Tuah and spit on it. Spit on it.
2 days later, June 11th, 2024, Tim and Dee clipped the 5-second moment and reposted it on Instagram and Twitter. That short upload would rewrite both their lives. In less than 24 hours, the repost hit 18 million views and nearly 500,000 likes. She later admitted that she kept refreshing her screen in disbelief.
Bigger than this, and I go back like an hour later and the views done went up by like 1 million. I was like, oh my god, there is no way that just happened.
No one knew who she was, not even Tim and DTV. The caption under the post read simply, "The Hawk Tuah Girl," and that was it. She had no social media presence, no tag, no profile to follow. The mystery made her even more magnetic, so much so that people were even calling for her to be president. In 2 days, Haliey Welch had gone from complete anonymity to a household name online. Not because of strategy or effort, but because of a split-second comment about spitting. And that randomness and the fact that it could happen to anyone is what made it so addictive to watch unfold.
Oh, you gotta give him Hawk Tuah. Spit on that thing. Hawk Tuah. Spit on that thing. Hawk Tuah. Spit on that thing. Hawk Tuah. Spit on it.
Her voice, that accent, and the fact that she had no social media, all of it became part of the myth. What she said wasn't even important anymore. By the end of June 2024, Haliey Welch realized the internet wasn't going to let the Hawk Tuah moment fade away, and if everyone else was going to cash in on her name, she might as well do it herself. In the days following the viral clip, bootleg shirts flooded Etsy and Redbubble. Strangers were selling Hawk Tuah 2024 hats, stickers, and mugs, none of which had anything to do with her. In her own words,
So the first week, after the first video, I was like, okay, well, you know, it's just one video, whatever. He kept going on and just posting more, and I was not doing really good the first week with it. Me and my friend Chelsea both, we did not take that well the first week. Like, I was embarrassed to come out of my house, go to work, anything of the sort. But after that, I got to thinking, I was like, you know what? After as many he's already posted, I'm not fazed by it. He just kept on posting them. So I was like, whatever. And so I got an attorney, like, after that. Because I was like, everybody else is making money off of it with merchandise, and he's making money off the videos. I was like, that's not fair. Like, it's me. Why am I not making any money? So I went and I got all my act together, and here I am.
So, in early July, she partnered with Fathead Threads, a Nashville-based merch line, to launch Hawk Tuah Official, her first legitimate brand. The rollout was fast and crude, a Shopify site, a few TikTok promos, and the likes. But it didn't matter. Within 9 days, her collection of hats and tees sold over $65,000 USD. The signed Hawk Tuah caps sold out in less than 48 hours, leaving fans begging for restocks. Even Rolling Stone took notice, reporting that Hawk Tuah Girl had already sold at least $65,000 worth of merch. People wanted to buy into the idea of Haliey Welch, the brash but lovable Southern girl who didn't care what anyone thought. By mid-July, her life had transformed entirely. She was spotted backstage at a Zach Bryan concert and later sharing a stage appearance with Shaquille O'Neal. A week after that, she threw the ceremonial first pitch at a New York Mets game, which was an absurd leap for someone who 30 days earlier had never been on a plane. The appearances snowballed into celebrity. Club owners offered her $30,000 per event just to show up and smile. She crossed 1 million followers on Instagram in under a month, overtaking influencers who had been grinding for years. However, it wasn't all roses for those involved in the Hawk Tuah video. When the Hawk Tuah clip detonated across the internet, the world crowned Haliey Welch as its new viral queen, but few stopped to ask who filmed it. Behind the camera were Tim and Dee, and for them, that single street interview was supposed to be another lighthearted addition to their growing series of nightlife videos. Instead, it became a whole cultural thing, one that made someone else a star. In an interview with Rolling Stone, the pair admitted the sudden fame left them feeling invisible. People were treating it like we're nobodies, one said. We made that video, but it's like everyone forgot. The viral explosion had turned their small channel, barely 21,000 subscribers at the time, into a reference, but without the recognition or reward that should have come with it. On their channel, you can see the Hawk Tuah video with over 9 million views, with the one closest to it barely hitting 190K. As the internet obsessed over Welch's personality, Tim and Dee watched from the sidelines while bootleg merch, brand deals, and interviews flooded her way. They were left trying to defend their own reputations as critics accused them of exploiting a drunk woman for views. We don't stand outside bars preying on drunk women, Dee explained. What I'm not going to put up with is people calling us predators. By the time Welch's merchandise had pulled in over $65,000, the men who had captured the footage still hadn't seen a cent. Worse, when Welch later appeared to distance herself from them, the duo felt betrayed. Behind the camera, though, the toll was starting to show on Haliey. Fame had stopped being fun. Paparazzi camped outside her family's house. Her grandfather reportedly had to be convinced not to confront them with a gun.
It's really strange. I can't really go in public by myself anymore. I'm paranoid of getting kidnapped or something.
Really?
I'm used to going in like public and everything and nobody paying me any kind of attention. I can just go on about my business. I can't go anywhere. I had a guy come up to me in Walmart. He was like, I know you. And I said, no you don't. And I got my bag and I went to walk away and he was like, I know you, Mrs. Hawk.
Because there was a video of you with 5 security guards. Is that you hiring security because you're paranoid about that?
Yes. And I'm little too, so I mean, I can't really defend myself with big people or nothing like that.
The gun violence over there, it's always a threat. Is this part of what you're nervous about with kidnapping and...
Oh, yeah. I worry for my safety sometimes.
And what did you think of the Trump, that shooting?
Shocking, right?
That was absolutely crazy. And it's like, I don't know, it's really mind-blowing. Like, that's kind of the thing that's going on in the world. I'm very paranoid about that.
It's fun to be famous for a while, but then there's the scary side, right behind the scenes.
The more visible she became, the more suffocated she felt. Every post, every outfit, every soundbite was dissected in real time. Her viral joke was mutating into a pressure cooker of expectations, and Haliey Welch, still only months into her fame, was beginning to crack under the weight of being watched. However, by August 2024, the shine for her was starting to dull anyway. Haliey Welch was still everywhere, but the novelty of the Hawk Tuah moment had begun to curdle into irritation. Her Instagram, once filled with selfies and gratitude posts, turned into a stream of party clips and suggestive captions, short skirts, nightclub shots, and barroom dances tagged Hawk Tuah and Party All Night. Within weeks, Haliey lost roughly 50,000 Instagram followers, dropping from 2.6 million to around 2.55 million. Several sponsors quietly backed out of upcoming deals. The comments under her post flipped from "she's a national treasure" to "this has to stop. Isn't this embarrassing?" Many TikToks of people criticizing her and her life started popping off. It was the first sign that viral fame evaporates. Haliey's management recognized the shift and scrambled to rebuild her image. By September, she announced a $10,000 donation to a Tennessee animal rescue charity, a gesture framed as giving back to her roots. But the real pivot came with her next move, a podcast. Backed by Jake Paul's Better Network, she launched Hawk Tuah, a name that played on her catchphrase while promising a more mature side of her personality. The set was simple, but the marketing was aggressive.
She's literally doing anything to stay relevant.
Does anyone actually give a about her?
Why are we keeping this girl relevant?
Your 15 minutes are up.
Your joke was funny for 2 days. Stop.
Y'all really thought I was done? I'm just getting started, baby.
This was her first serious attempt to move beyond the meme, and a parade of big-name guests meant to position her as more than the Hawk Tuah Girl. The debut episode, featuring comedian Whitney Cummings, became an instant hit. It was funny and self-aware, the kind of crossover moment that made people wonder if Haliey might actually pull off a reinvention. Cummings played into the chaos, teasing Haliey about the viral clip while also empathizing with her sudden fame. Their chemistry was electric. The episode shot to the top of YouTube's trending charts and cracked over 1 million views within a week, something no other episode would ever repeat. That first conversation worked because it captured lightning twice. Haliey was still fresh in the public's mind and oddly likable. Listeners tuned in out of curiosity, but they stayed because Cummings treated her like a person instead of a punchline. For a brief moment, the Hawk Tuah brand felt sustainable, but the momentum evaporated almost immediately. Later episodes with celebrity guests like Wiz Khalifa and Mark Cuban failed to replicate that spark. The humor felt forced, the conversations shallow, engagement tanked. Within 2 months, episodes struggled to reach even a fraction of the debut's numbers. By early 2025, Hawk Tuah had gone from Spotify's top 5 to barely charting at all. By October 2024, the Hawk Tuah brand was still lucrative, merch sales, club appearances, sponsorships, yet the public's fascination had thinned into background noise. And as the crypto world entered another Solana-fueled meme coin boom, Haliey saw her next move. The internet was swarming with digital coins that had no purpose beyond hype, dog with hat, moonding, bonk tokens whose names alone turned jokes into jackpots. In that climate, launching a coin was a marketing stunt, and Haliey, a walking meme, was perfect for it. Sometime in mid-November, she announced her plans on Twitter. The token would be called $Hawk, a nod to her viral phrase, and she positioned it as a community coin for real fans.
So after I saw Michael Saylor speak at the Bitcoin conference, I have decided to start putting some money into crypto, and I just want to say, oh my God, thank you so much, Mr. Saylor.
According to filings later revealed by insiders, the project was built through Overhere Limited, a Cayman-registered crypto firm, and fronted by Alex Larson Schultz, better known online as Doc Hollywood. The pitch was simple. Haliey's brand would anchor the coin while Overhere handled logistics, tokenomics, and marketing. In her words, it wasn't about greed, it was about connecting with the people who made me. But on-chain records and leaked agreements painted a different picture. Haliey's name and likeness weren't just a mascot, they were the selling point. Behind the talk of community, insiders were preparing what looked eerily like a classic pump-and-dump setup. Pre-sale allocations, locked developer wallets, and vague charity clauses that didn't specify which charities would receive funds. When December 4th, 2024 arrived, Dollarhawk officially launched and chaos followed within minutes. At first, it looked like another success story. Trading opened strong on Solana, and within 10 minutes, the token's market cap skyrocketed to an absurd $490 million USD, briefly outperforming several legitimate projects.
My Hawk meme coin is live!
Then came the crash. In less than 20 minutes, Hawk meme coin plummeted by 95%, bottoming out around $26 million. The blockchain data told a story uglier than any press release could spin. 96% of the supply was held by just 10 interlinked wallets, most traced back to early investors and developers connected to over here. The pre-sale alone had raised $2.8 million from roughly 285 wallets, mostly located in Asia, and many of those addresses sold their tokens the instant trading opened. To regular investors, Haliey's fans, it looked like theft in real time. As the dust settled, the numbers were staggering. Individual losses ranged from $1,000 to over $180,000. Collectively, small investors were out well over $1 million, maybe more. The same audience that once called Haliey a national treasure now branded her a fraud. For the first time since her rise, the laughter stopped, and in the space of 20 minutes, the factory girl who turned a meme into an empire had become the face of one of the year's ugliest crypto collapses. By the second week of December 2024, the internet's most feared investigator entered the story. Coffeezilla, YouTube's self-appointed watchdog of influencer fraud, had started digging into the Hawk Tuah coin. In it, he broke down the numbers with surgical calm. Blockchain data showed that Haliey's team and developers had taken around 15% in transaction fees, totaling nearly $2 million siphoned within the first 24 hours. Wallet analysis revealed the same pattern that characterized every influencer coin collapse: insiders selling into fan demand while claiming they hadn't touched a cent.
Start with the big tweet that kind of set it all off. That would be this by Bubble Maps, which showed 96% of the supply was controlled by the team and was being sent out to a bunch of smaller wallets. The implication being that some of them might be dumping on you. Pretty quickly, the Hawk Tuah Girl came in to copy and paste what her team told her to say, which said, "Team hasn't sold one token and not one key opinion leader was given one free token. We tried to stop snipers as best we could through high fees at the start of the launch." So you see their awful tokenomics here.
Then came the now infamous livestream confrontation. Coffeezilla joined a Twitter space that included a member of Haliey's management team, a few developers, and hundreds of angry holders. The host tried to pivot, but Coffeezilla cut straight in.
This is one of the most miserable, horrible launches I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, then why the f are you on?
That was the moment the illusion broke. Until then, Haliey's PR messaging had painted her as an unwitting face of the operation, someone who lent her name to a crypto project she barely understood, but when her own partners publicly tied her name to ownership, the defense collapsed. By December 16th, the backlash had turned legal. A class action lawsuit was filed in Florida on behalf of 176 individual investors. Court filings accuse Welch, Over Here Limited, and Alex Doc Hollywood Schultz of wire fraud, market manipulation, and misrepresentation of risk. According to leaked correspondence, both the FBI and SEC had opened preliminary inquiries into the case, citing potential securities violations involving a U.S. citizen acting as a promotional partner. The headlines were relentless. Overnight, Haliey Welch went from meme queen to crypto fraud suspect. News outlets replayed clips of her smiling at baseball games and laughing on podcasts beside bold text that read, "Influencer under investigation." Even FaZe Banks, who had appeared on her podcast weeks prior, publicly distanced himself. Then, on December 20th, Coffeezilla released a follow-up report that turned the scandal from suspicion to certainty. A leaked paper trail surfaced from within Over Here Limited, showing a 3-tier payment structure for Haliey Welch's participation. The contract outlined a $125,000 upfront fee upon signing, $200,000 performance bonus upon successful token launch, and up to 50% of all post-launch profits, distributed via locked liquidity pools. What had started as a rumor of mismanagement was now a paper trail of intent. The evidence didn't just prove profit, it proved planning. The leaked contracts, time-stamped and signed, showed that Haliey Welch wasn't the clueless face of a scam. She was, at minimum, a paid partner, and at worst, a co-architect. By Christmas, Hawk Tuah had officially gone from meme to criminal case, and the girl who once spit out a joke on a Nashville sidewalk was now being investigated for financial misconduct on a federal scale. By January 2025, Haliey Welch had gone dark. No posts, no tweets, no podcast uploads. Fans speculated she'd fled the country. Detractors assumed she was hiding behind lawyers. For nearly a month, there wasn't a single update from the Hawk Tuah camp. The silence was deafening. Then, out of nowhere, a new Talk Tuah episode leaked online. The thumbnail showed Haliey sitting beside FaZe Banks, both in studio lighting, the title reading simply, "Clearing the Air." The upload appeared on YouTube under a private listing for a few hours before going public, as if by mistake, but nothing about it looked accidental. The video had full editing, background music, and most notably, an integrated Game Time sponsorship ad mid-episode.
Well, so basically how this idea got brought to me, it was supposed to be like a, what do they call it, a long-term coin. And the guy that ran the account, he was like, oh, we're going to change like the way everybody thinks of crypto. Crypto's going to be a good place. And I feel really bad for all the people that got affected by it, and it just didn't go the way I planned. And all the money out of this episode is getting donated to all the animals that have been affected by the fires up here.
Haliey appeared tearful throughout the conversation. Wearing an oversized hoodie and barely any makeup, she thanked her true fans and said she'd been trying to sort out all the pieces to make everything right. Her voice broke as Banks murmured, "Don't cry. Everything's gonna be okay."
Don't cry, Haliey. It's fine. It's all gonna be okay. Life is gonna be okay. Oh, Haliey, no.
Oh, don't do that.
No,
don't stare at me.
No.
The problem was that her sadness looked too practiced, more commercial than confessional, especially since she had time to squeeze in an ad break.
Alright, you guys, I only got one sponsor left because there's some real ones and they've stuck with me since every bit of this started. Game Time believes in me, y'all, and I believe in them. Game Time's more loyal than most of y'all's mans out here. This podcast ain't going nowhere, and neither are them Game Time.
However, the episode did exactly what it was meant to do, reignite attention, but not the kind she wanted. By February, the story took another turn, and this time it wasn't Haliey who made headlines. FaZe Banks, her guest and co-star in the leaked interview, went on Twitter to air his frustration. "I agreed to do the first podcast back," he wrote. "Had heavy stipulations, no market manipulation, no funny business. Then the coin spikes the same damn day. They insider traded again." The tweet detonated across the platform. He accused her team of using the podcast leak to trigger another pump, noting that the Hawk Tuah token saw an unexplained surge in trading volume just hours before the episode went live. Blockchain analysis later confirmed his suspicion. Wallets tied to early Overhear investors had quietly bought back into $Hawk the morning of the upload. In the same tweet, FaZe also advised Haliey to fire everybody. What was framed as an emotional comeback had functioned as a coordinated marketing push, another attempt to squeeze profit from controversy. And this time, even the people who once defended Haliey were finished. By the end of February, the Hawk Tuah Girl redemption arc was dead on arrival. The world had seen behind the curtain. The performative tears, the recycled excuses, the desperation to turn every crisis into content. And just like that, the internet's most viral woman of 2024 had become its most transparent fraud of 2025. As public scorn grew, the numbers told the rest of the story. Talk Tuah went from racking up millions of views per upload to struggling for tens of thousands. Sponsors began quietly cutting ties. Better, Jake Paul's betting company, and her biggest backer, removed the show from its featured creator lineup. Within days, Haliey tried to get ahead of the fallout, posting on Instagram, "I'm officially parting ways with Better to go independent. Excited for what's next." There was no what's next. The post barely cracked 10,000 likes, a fraction of her former reach, and within a week, it vanished along with the rest of her content. By spring, the tone had shifted from mockery to morbidity. The lawsuits multiplied. The FBI and SEC inquiries continued quietly behind the scenes. And just as the outrage began to cool, the exploitation machine revved up again. Bungalow Media, a mid-tier production house known for influencer biopics, announced a streaming documentary titled Doc Tuah. The trailer was released with a clip of Welch waking up from a nightmare filled with rumors about her being dead, pregnant, or in jail. The teaser features clips from Joe Rogan, Stephen Colbert, and news reports highlighting just how wild her public image has become.
Breaking news. Haliey Welch has been shot this evening. Haliey Welch dead. The Hawk Tuah Girl has died.
Whew.
Hawk Tuah Girl exposed for being pregnant.
Oh, my bad.
Breaking news. The Hawk Tuah Girl is not missing. She's pregnant.
Oh my god. Ooh.
What's going on with that Hawk Tuah chick? She going to jail?
Anywho, do I get a phone call?
The Hawk Tuah Girl. No one knows finance quite like Miss Tuah.
Get your ass up. We got stuff to do.
The project claimed to explore internet fame and accountability, but to most it looked like another cash grab off the corpse of a scandal. In interviews earlier this year, she described that break as a time of self-reflection. Speaking to Vanity Fair, she said she spent most of her time at home in Tennessee, being a 24/7 dog mom, and trying to process what had happened. The scrutiny had become unbearable for her. Your whole life's basically online, and then people can say anything they want to you. She acknowledged the guilt she carried after the crypto collapse, adding, "You gotta sit there with the thought, oh, a lot of people just lost money because of something you did." It's really overwhelming. The public breakdown had stripped away the performative humor that once defined her. She sounded quieter, more aware. By April 2025, Welch announced her return with a Hawk Tuah under her own production company, 16 Minutes, calling it a new chapter. Her first guest was KSI, the YouTuber turned boxer who, like her, had been through the grinder of internet backlash.
Welcome back to another episode of Hawk Tuah. It's been a hot minute since we've been back here, but now we're the official owners of Hawk Tuah. And we may or may not have flew to London to get a very special guest for you. We got KSI.
Yo, yo. Live in the flesh, baby.
The episode never reached her old heights. It gathered modest engagement of about 100,000 views, which is far from the millions her debut once pulled, but it carried a tone of redemption. Both Welch and KSI danced around their controversies, talking about how the internet eats its own. Outside of podcasting, Welch made brief appearances. She filmed a short cameo for Glenn Powell's Hulu series Chad Powers. As of mid-2025, her digital empire has shrunk. Her follower count remains in the millions, but her engagement and general success has cratered to a fraction of what it once was.
Did you ever do an OF?
No.
You wouldn't make much.
I'm insulted.
You would make a lot of money.
I'm gonna do one just to prove it to you.
What would be your OnlyFans?
Well, I don't know. I heard I could just get people to subscribe and then never actually put anything up.
I'll tell you what I'd pay for if you made an OnlyFans.
I don't want to know. Andrew.
You just daily putting tape over your mouth. Every day. Just every morning, a different colored tape right over your mouth. I'd pay for that. Fully clothed.
There's a certain kind of fame that burns too bright to last. The kind that doesn't feel earned, but assembled like someone somewhere decided it was your turn to go viral. Bobbi Althoff's story is one of those cases. A suburban mom who turned her monotone parenting jokes into an empire, then into a scandal, and then into a punchline. Within a year, she went from TikTok's deadpan darling to sitting in bed with Drake, asking him if she was his type, to losing her marriage, her reputation, and almost all the goodwill that had made her famous in the first place.
Are you an industry plant?
So what happened was I was at home like a few months ago and I was just sitting there and I got a call and then I also got a knock at the door at the same time and they were like, "Hello, we're the industry." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And they were like, "You can't ask any questions." And I was like, "Okay." And they were like, "You're gonna blow up. You just have to follow our lead and give us 78% of your money that you make from this." Very fair offer. And then they also said that I had to have
Very fair offer, 75% for them.
Yeah, because I wasn't making that much before.
Okay.
So it's like they're entitled to it. And I didn't ask any questions. They just said, you have to give us the next child you have too. So
What if one of the fastest rises to internet fame wasn't a story of talent, but of timing and the right connections behind the curtain? What if a suburban mom with a phone could skip every step, every grind, and land straight in bed with one of the biggest rappers in the world? That's the story of Bobbi Althoff, the woman who became famous for doing absolutely nothing. Well, except being awkward. While some saw her as the next big personality, others swore she was the biggest industry plant the platform had ever produced, but everyone had one question. Who was pulling the strings? Because almost overnight, Bobbi went from random TikToker to signing with one of Hollywood's most powerful talent agencies, UTA. Her guest list read like a Met Gala roll call. Drake, Mark Cuban, Offset, Lil Yachty, and yet her podcast, The Really Good Podcast, looked and sounded like it was filmed on irony. She asked questions that went nowhere, interrupted guests, flirted mid-interview, and delivered every line with the emotional range of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. Millions watched, sponsors lined up, and for a moment, Bobbi Althoff looked untouchable. Then it all began to unravel. Offset called her a plain piece of chicken live on camera.
You need a little bit of seasoning. You ain't got no seasoning, man. You like a plain piece of chicken just...
Keke Palmer told her to her face that she felt kind of planty. Funny Marco, the comedian who helped her go viral in the first place, cut ties publicly, saying her energy was fake and cold.
So on my interview, it gave that open where she was like trying to figure me out. But now it's like the interviews, I think they're like, she's trying to on people. And when I watched the interview with Offset, I was like, damn, that was pretty bad.
The internet started keeping score, tracking every relationship, every inconsistency, every rumor. There were stories of Drake unfollowing her, of deleted episodes, of her being escorted out of clubs by NFL players who later refused to claim her. And when her show finally collapsed, she didn't deny it, she held a funeral for it.
All right, guys, I don't really think there's any good way to say this, but this is the last episode of The Really Good Podcast.
But that's not where this story ends. Just a few months later, Bobbi returned with a new podcast called Not This Again, and guess who her first guest was? Drake. The same man who made her and broke her, sitting across from her once more, laughing, flirting, and almost kissing her on camera. Suddenly, the same agencies, the same headlines, and the same speculation came roaring back. Was she an industry plant?
Not only did that spark the industry plant rumors.
In this video, we would be looking at the comeback of Bobbi, but first we have to see how she went from stay-at-home mom to Hollywood asset, from viral sensation to public scapegoat, from mocked industry plant to self-aware comeback queen. You see, Bobbi's story isn't just about one woman's rise and fall. If the rumors on the internet are anything to go by, it's about the machinery of modern celebrity, of how the internet manufactures icons, feeds on their downfall, and then resurrects them just to watch it happen all over again.
As you guys know, this podcast started off just with a girl with a dream to make more money. And I knew when I started that it was going to go places. I didn't know I would fall off as quickly as I did. To be honest, I did think this was going to last a bit longer.
Way back before Bobbi became known for her celebrity interviews on the Really Good Podcast and her deadpan stare, she was just another young mother with a phone, an internet connection, and a strangely captivating sense of humor. She started posting on TikTok in early 2021, where her content revolved around the everyday exhaustion of motherhood. Her videos stood out because of her delivery and how she spoke like someone who had completely run out of enthusiasm for life, which ironically made her content feel more authentic.
My husband says he's upset with me because in his words, sweetie, you need to stop spending so much money on DoorDash. Ordering it 3 times a day is not appropriate and we need to start living within our means. Honey, it sounds like you have an income problem, not that I have a spending problem. Start earning more money and we won't have these issues. So I took his credit card that we share and I booked a vacation for my daughter Richard and I. We're staying in a hotel tonight and I hope he enjoys that I charged $8,000 to his credit card. Make more money, darling.
Her fans called it too bored to care humor, a tone that perfectly mirrored the cynical fatigue of young mothers scrolling on their phones late at night. Her earliest clips were simple, shot in her home with minimal editing. She would sit in front of the camera, often with a blank expression, and deliver lines that mocked the overly cheerful tone of typical mom influencers. One of her earliest viral moments came from a video where she said,
Baby's due tomorrow and she's obviously not here yet, so we are at Disneyland. I was hoping that I'd be able to like walk her out or something, but that doesn't feel like it's happening. Nothing's happening. She's never coming. I will be pregnant for the rest of my life, and that's just something that I'm going to have to accept. Anyway. Yes, I did name my daughter Richard. I just always really loved the name Richard, and I wanted a boy, but I had a girl, and I decided to name her Richard anyway.
The bluntness mixed with the delivery of someone who clearly didn't care about being liked was what hooked people. Unlike other creators chasing trends, Bobbi didn't seem to be trying. That was the joke, and the appeal. Her humor felt like a rebellion against the polished, curated world of motherhood content. While others made parenting look aspirational, Bobbi made it look like a cosmic joke. Her audience grew rapidly, mostly women who saw her as an anti-influencer. Within a year, she had built an audience of over 3.6 million followers, all drawn to her minimal effort aesthetic and painfully honest tone. Behind the sarcasm, though, Bobbi was calculating. She treated TikTok less like a diary and more like a system to be mastered. She once admitted in an interview that she uploaded between 5 and 10 videos a day, obsessively monitoring which ones went viral and which didn't. She set herself a strict rule. Every single day, at least one video had to hit 1 million views.
It's like every day I was still posting 10 videos a day, even when I had my 3 million followers, and some of those videos would completely flop and get like 50,000 views, and I was just constantly having to think.
She learned quickly how the algorithm rewarded quantity over depth, and she leaned into it. The effort paid off. Within her first year, brand deals began to flood in, bringing her between $250,000 and $300,000 annually.
I was making around like $250 to $300 a year.
Thousand.
Yeah.
From brand
deals on TikTok.
Wow.
And 250 is great and all, but it's hard to come up with content with just me every day.
$250,000 a year.
She was making more than most people with full-time careers, but she didn't see that as success. To her, it was a stepping stone, and she wanted more.
I was like, the only thing that is so successful every time is collabs. And then I saw this video of a girl talking about how much she made from her podcast, and I think I mentally decided that she made like at least $300 a year on her podcast alone, and I was like, that's what I need to do next.
The comment would later haunt her, because it revealed what drove her was not the art of content creation, not connection with an audience, but money. Even her followers could sense it. While many admired her wit, others began to notice the performative detachment behind her sarcasm. Her early videos might have looked casual, but everything from the tone to the pacing was engineered to appeal to the algorithm. She would repeat certain phrases or issues, keep her shots short, and post at consistent times. Her rise was strategic. After conquering TikTok, she was sure now that a podcast was the next logical step, so she took the step. But the problem was that she had no connections and no real format. So she came up with a simple but unusual strategy. She offered her followers $300 if they could get a celebrity to appear on her new show. It was less a casting call and more a bounty. She didn't pitch agents or managers, she outsourced the work to her fan base, turning her audience into unpaid recruiters motivated by the cash prize. The idea worked faster than anyone expected.
A minivan, because I have 3 children.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know anything about cars, so I honestly...
Minivans are very expensive.
They are.
Yes, so you're rich.
We're leasing it.
Okay, that's embarrassing.
Well, then it takes one to know one, because you said you were leasing yours, so...
Okay. I'm really insecure about that, so please don't bring that up again.
I apologize.
Thank you.
Do you have a fan army name?
No.
Okay.
You would know that because you stalk me in your free time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to ask a question you know the answer to.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I had questions to ask about.
Did you write them down?
No, I remember my stuff.
Okay, congratulations. You've been doing this for a lot longer. You're much older than me.
I'm 23.
You're not 23.
Through that offer, she landed her first notable guest, the comedian Funny Marco, who was already known for his dry and uncomfortable interview style. The two of them sitting across from each other was like watching a comedy experiment. Marco's chaotic, streetwise humor clashed perfectly with Bobbi's suburban blankness. She asked strange questions that didn't go anywhere. He responded with mock confusion or played along in silence.
My dad did work on Snoop Dogg's house. Why didn't you respond to that?
He built Snoop Dogg's house.
I didn't say he built Snoop Dogg's house. He worked on his closets.
Doing what?
just helping him with it.
Snoop Dogg needed help from your dad on a closet.
Yes, my dad is a construction guy, and my dad worked on his house.
Oh, wow. What's his company?
He works for himself.
Yeah, what's his company name?
He doesn't have a company name.
So
it's just
Snoop
his...
Dogg just randomly say, hey, yo, you dog, come work
I'm
on
not
my
lying
closet,
about
cuz.
that. No,
I'm just asking you, how did he get in contact with your daddy?
I don't know. We should ask my dad.
He's like, oh, yo, cuz, come work on my closet, cuz.
Do you want to ask my dad right now?
Call him.
I'm not going to call him. Text him.
It was the moment Bobbi realized her awkwardness was not a flaw, it was her brand. The contrast between Marco's loud energy and her muted tone created a kind of accidental brilliance that made people want more, and every video that had them both blew up. The internet began calling her the female Funny Marco, though that label would later become a source of tension between them. For now, it was the spark that launched her podcast into the mainstream. She named it The Really Good Podcast, a title that sounded more like a joke than a statement. The show's entire identity was built around discomfort. There was no elaborate set design or flashy intro, just Bobbi sitting still, barely emoting, while guests tried to figure out if she was joking or genuinely uninterested. Her questions were simple, sometimes absurd. These small, quiet moments became viral clips on TikTok. People were fascinated by how she could make famous guests look nervous, confused, or slightly offended without ever raising her voice. Many called her hilariously uncomfortable. Bobbi didn't research her guests, she just showed up and improvised. What started as a small idea funded by a $300 bounty had now become one of the most talked about new podcasts on the internet. For Bobbi, it was proof that the same awkward energy that made her famous on TikTok could be turned into something much larger. But it was also the start of the public's confusion about her. Was she a comedic genius or just someone who stumbled into success? Either way, the formula was working, and her next guest would take her from viral curiosity to full-blown internet phenomenon. In July 2023, Bobbi's career took a turn that no one could have predicted. Out of nowhere, the biggest rapper in the world followed her on Instagram. Drake had liked one of her clips, a short moment from an earlier podcast episode that showed her sitting in silence as her guest stumbled through an awkward answer. For Drake to engage with it at all was already shocking, but what came next would change everything.
And then Drake, you
So
started
then
into Drake's...
my video with Marco went very
Yes,
viral.
yeah.
Like,
correct.
very viral. I didn't
That's when
expect
I
it.
first started. That's
Okay.
when I became aware of you.
Yeah, then Drake liked one of the videos I had uploaded, and he followed me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna shoot my shot to Drake. I don't know how this...
She later admitted she thought there was a 1% chance he would even reply, but to her disbelief, he said yes. No negotiation, no agent back and forth, just Drake agreeing to be interviewed by a suburban TikToker known for her weird silences. Within weeks, her small, low-budget podcast was preparing to host one of the biggest celebrities on the planet. The episode that followed would become one of the most surreal interviews in recent memory. It was filmed not in a studio, but in Drake's bed, a detail that instantly blurred the line between journalism and something much more personal.
All right, you got that. All right, ask me a couple more
Are you
things.
kicking me out?
I'm just saying, you know,
I flew all the way here
you did. I really do appreciate
on my
that.
daughter's first birthday.
I wasn't gonna bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
You missed your daughter's first birthday for
To
this.
be here.
Dark. Regret that you'll never be able to undo.
Yeah.
Horrible parenting.
Where's your son?
Somewhere safe, and it's not his birthday.
When's his birthday?
What does it matter? It ain't today.
From the opening seconds, the tone was flirtatious and strangely intimate. The awkward chemistry that had made her viral before was now magnified 100 times over. Watching Drake, one of the most composed public figures in music, struggle to keep up with Bobbi's robotic calm was both hilarious and unsettling.
If someone was like, "Oh, have you ever heard Kiki Do You Love Me" by Tyga?
Yeah.
You would be like, you would fully be convinced.
Absolutely.
There's no, okay.
There's absolutely.
What's your favorite Tyga song?
Is he married to Kylie Jenner? Is that the guy that dated him? He dated
mean,
Kylie Jenner.
Yeah, maybe before the iPhone or something. That's such ancient
Does
gossip.
he sing?
Huh?
He raps. He sings.
Yeah. What's your favorite Tyga song?
I don't know who that is.
You want me to play you some Tyga right now?
No.
I'm about to.
Okay.
You're gonna sit through this.
The whole song.
No, just a little snippet. Rack City, bitch. 20s on the titties, bitch. Nope. Yeah. Yeah. Let's get to the second hook at least. No.
The video exploded online. Within 2 weeks, it amassed over 10 million views and pushed her subscriber count up by more than 700,000. Clips flooded social media. People couldn't stop asking the same question. How did she get Drake? Some thought she must have powerful industry connections. Others believed Drake had orchestrated it as part of a publicity stunt. A few even began suggesting there was something romantic happening off camera. The controversy only grew when one moment from the episode went viral on its own. Midway through the conversation, Drake leaned forward and said,
You missed your daughter's first birthday.
To be here.
Dark. Regret that you'll never be able to undo.
Yeah.
Horrible parenting.
The line was delivered jokingly, but not a lot of people treated it like a joke. It became the defining quote of the interview, sparking outrage and endless speculation. Did she really miss her child's birthday to film with Drake? And if she did, what did that say about the kind of fame she was chasing? For weeks, the internet obsessed over it. Some fans defended her, saying any creator would have made the same sacrifice for an opportunity that massive. Others called it selfish, proof that she was abandoning her family for attention. The debate turned Bobbi into a symbol of a new kind of influencer, one who treated motherhood, marriage, and morality as flexible in the pursuit of fame. Whether people loved her or hated her, everyone was talking about her. The Drake interview had transformed Bobbi from a viral personality into a pop culture phenomenon. But it also set off a chain reaction that would eventually destroy everything she had built. Because in that moment, sitting beside Drake, basking in the attention she had always wanted, Bobbi had unknowingly lit the fuse that would lead to her downfall. 6 days after the Drake recording, Bobbi's personal life began to unravel. Her husband, Bobbi Althoff, filed for divorce, ending a marriage that had quietly existed in the background of her online persona. His sudden exit from her life turned what was already a viral success story into a public scandal. Not long after the episode aired, fans pieced together an uncomfortable detail. The Drake interview had her flirting with him in an uncomfortable way, especially for a married woman.
Am I your type?
I'd do it.
Thank you.
I'd do it. There's, you
Not an it.
I know, I just meant like...
You do it? I asked, am I your type? And you said I do it. It's not funny.
Within days, tabloids and entertainment blogs ran with sensational headlines like this one, suggesting she left her family for fame. Comment sections turned hostile. Viewers who once praised her humor were now accusing her of being a neglectful parent and an opportunist who would trade anything, even her family, for the spotlight. The backlash was relentless, and Bobbi, who had built her brand on detached humor, suddenly had no way to laugh it off. When she finally broke her silence, she wrote, "As most of you have heard, Corey and I have filed for divorce. As sad as I am right now, I am so thankful for the time I got to be his wife. Our girls are so lucky to have him as a father, and I am so lucky to be able to co-parent with such an incredible father in person. While our relationship did not work out as husband and wife, we will always be friends, and I will always love him." She would also say in a now deleted post that I didn't even want to do this podcast in the first place. It sounded defensive, almost resentful, as if she was trying to shift the blame for her own decisions. The comment didn't calm her critics, it made things worse. People accused her of playing the victim, of pretending she had been forced into success she had clearly chased. Then came the rumors. Not long after the episode's release, fans noticed that both Bobbi and Drake had unfollowed each other on Instagram. The timing was suspicious. Screenshots began circulating on Twitter and Reddit, with users speculating that their relationship had crossed into something personal during or after the shoot. Memes spread like wildfire, showing her lying beside him in bed with captions like "career goals" or "the fastest way to the top." Neither of them addressed the rumors directly, except in that same post where she showed her DMs with Dave Portnoy, and her clearly stating nothing of that nature existed between both of them. By the end of that summer, Bobbi's name had become a kind of shorthand for clout chasing gone too far. The woman who once seemed in control of her image was now a tabloid character, a punchline in her own story. Every trace of authenticity that made her famous on TikTok was being replaced by cynicism and scandal. In the months following her viral interview with Drake, Bobbi's platform exploded. Her subscriber count surged, major outlets began covering her show, and celebrities lined up to appear on the Really Good podcast, but the higher she climbed, the sharper the backlash became. Her next major guest was rapper Lil Yachty. However, they didn't really get off on the right foot.
Yachty, when I walked into his house, I was so uncomfortable. It was so awkward. He didn't say hi to me. He's just sitting there and he's not even acknowledging that I'm in the room. I'm just sitting there like
Skin
on
crawling.
my phone. And then he comes up, he's like, oh, hi, gives me like a half hug. And I'm just like, hi. Then goes back to his spot. And I'm like, dude, I don't even want to do this. I'm texting my friend. I need to leave. This is so awkward. I don't want it. Like, what am I doing here?
The episode was meant to cement her status as a legitimate interviewer, but it had the opposite effect. Throughout the conversation, Bobbi called him awkward several times, as if trying to flip the tension that usually defined her interviews.
Why did you do that? What are you doing?
I would love to see you at like a Pizza Hut takeout one day in like 5 years as you're getting your Bentley with your nail shades on. I'm like, what the fuck, Bobbi? That's you. You're like, it's me, Nick.
I'm not going to say that, but you can continue.
Okay. You're like, it's me, Nick.
Please don't put words like that in my mouth.
What?
I'm not going to say that.
Say what? What's up? You wouldn't say what's up?
No.
Oh, you wouldn't say it's me. You'd just be like,
I wouldn't say that.
oh, sure.
Please don't do that to me.
Do what?
You know I wouldn't say that.
I don't know. You wouldn't say that. We're just meeting.
Okay, I wouldn't say that. I would like the record to state that I wouldn't say that.
The problem was that Yachty was polite and composed, while Bobbi came off dismissive and detached. Fans who had once praised her for making guests uncomfortable now accused her of being disrespectful. Comment sections filled with complaints that she was ungrateful, out of her depth, and trying too hard to act uninterested. Then came the Offset interview, a moment that would mark the beginning of her public downfall. Offset's energy was the complete opposite of Bobbi's monotone delivery. Where she leaned into silence, he filled the air with jokes and blunt honesty.
Answered very defensively.
No, I'm really fly though, and it's like you don't get it.
Okay,
And I'm
I
trying
was
to help
I was
you to-
trying to understand. You don't have to be so mean.
I'm not being mean. I'm not being mean. It's just you don't get it. So I'm very passionate about the people that don't get it because they need to get it because they dress like you and then they be lost.
Oh.
You know, like why would you go 2000s tank with the open button up?
I don't claim to be into fashion. You do.
Yeah, but see the thing is, if that was the case, then you would have just came in here with a big ass hoodie on and some.
At one point, visibly frustrated, he said,
Tell them.
You gotta shake my hand.
Oh.
You need a little bit of seasoning. You ain't got no seasoning, man. You like a plain piece of chicken just on the thing. You pull it off and then you serve the dish. You need some seasoning, man. Damn, I'm trying to get you to play. You lost in the sauce. You ain't shaking my hand. We finna get you to 25 million. You know what I'm saying? Just a little
Have
sprinkle.
a great day,
of seasoning.
Offset.
Just a little seasoning.
All right, you can leave now.
This is my hotel. I paid for this. You can leave now. See how that worked? But I don't even want you to leave because I'm not rude like that. I f with you.
All right,
Listen.
thank you.
He laughed, but the message was clear. The crowd in the comments agreed. The clip spread across Twitter and TikTok, reshared thousands of times with captions mocking her lack of charisma. It was one of the first moments where a guest had openly broken the illusion of her bit, treating her not as an enigmatic host, but as someone undeserving of the spotlight. Her interview with Keke Palmer drove the point home. The two shared the same management, a fact that didn't go unnoticed.
Well, you do feel kind of planty. We do have the same manager, so is this?
I know,
isn't
isn't that crazy?
Feels a bit planty.
This is definitely
You got
like
you
Liz.
got here in 5 minutes. It took me 20 years.
Hey.
It reinforced a theory that had been circulating for months, that Bobbi's rise wasn't organic at all, that she was being pushed by powerful hands behind the scenes. As the novelty of the Really Good podcast began to fade, so did the illusion that made Bobbi seem intriguing. What once felt like international awkwardness started looking like carelessness. In several interviews, Bobbi started painting herself as an underdog again, insisting she was broke and struggling financially. The problem was that her words didn't match her image. She was still wearing designer clothes, flying out to celebrity shoots, and filming in luxury settings. To the public, it looked like another layer of performance, a new way to play the relatable mom role that had worked for her early on. People accused her of playing poor to manipulate her audience's empathy, a common tactic among influencers trying to reset their brand. At one point, she even admitted that the version of herself people saw online wasn't real. The admission should have been harmless, but it shattered the illusion. If Bobbi wasn't Bobbi, then who was she selling? You see, you could argue that the entire appeal of her podcast had been her unpredictability, the sense that you were watching someone genuinely unusual, not a person pretending to be unusual. Once that mystery was gone, the act no longer worked. Audiences could feel the repetition. Every interview started to sound the same. The same flat tone, the same blank stare, the same uncomfortable silences that no longer felt intentional. Guests stopped playing along. Viewers stopped sharing clips. What had started as a viral formula now felt overused, forced, and lifeless. The shtick that once defined Bobbi Althoff had finally collapsed under its own weight. The cracks in Bobbi's image widened when the one person who had helped her launch her career decided to walk away. Funny Marco, the comedian whose chemistry with her had turned the Really Good podcast into a viral sensation, announced that their planned comedy tour was canceled. In a video posted to his channel, he explained that her style simply didn't translate to a live audience.
And it's not the same thing that you get on Instagram. This is real life where people are going to look and they want the energy and they want the feeling. And I feel like Bobbi was stiff a little bit.
His comments were measured and professional, but they hit Bobbi hard. She responded emotionally, saying she had been blindsided. In her version of events, she wasn't unprepared, she was struggling.
I guess this is how we're doing this now. I saw your video. Not gonna lie, I was a little shocked. So here's my version of what happened. Last year, we were supposed to go on tour, and I backed out last minute because my husband had just left me. I just had surgery, and I was super nervous going into this because I was not prepared. And I texted Marco, and I said, Marco, I'm so sorry to do this, but I am so depressed right now. I literally want to myself. He doesn't reply to me. And then he unfollows me. I woke up from surgery actually to him unfollowing me. And not only that, in the coming weeks, he would go on multiple podcasts and talk about how much he didn't fuck with my style of humor.
The fallout triggered a second wave of criticism, the kind that no influencer survives. Clips from her later podcast episodes began circulating with captions like she's bullying her guests, and this is painful to watch. At the same time, Bobbi's appearance became another talking point. After she made a few cosmetic changes, including fillers and a more polished look, Reddit threads began comparing before and after pictures with cruel captions like she ruined her face and trying too hard to be Hollywood.
I am so tired of all of the comments of people saying she ruined her face and she can't even move her face, it's so frozen, she has so much filler. Let me just set the record straight real quick. One time and one time only. Actually, this is 2 times now. The only thing I have done to my face is that I have a little bit of filler in my upper lip, okay? That is it. I do not have cheek filler, but you guys seem to think I do because I've put on a lot of weight, and that's because a year ago I was breastfeeding all the time, and when I stopped, I put on about 20 pounds.
The shift from low-effort mom humor to LA influencer aesthetics made her seem like everything she used to mock. There were also articles criticizing her podcast and how it never quite lived up to the hype like this one by The Campanile. Her view counts told the same story. Where her episodes once pulled millions of views in days, they now struggled to cross a few 100,000. The silence that had once been her trademark was now the silence of an audience losing interest. Bobbi's empire seemed to be collapsing in real time. By the summer of 2025, Bobbi seemed to know her run was over. On July 31st, she uploaded a final episode titled, "This is the last episode of the Really Good Podcast." The video opened with somber piano music and a mock funeral set for her own show.
Guys, I don't really think there's any good way to say this, but this is the last episode of the Really Good Podcast. I feel like I should take my glasses off to say it too. This is the last episode of the Really Good Podcast, and it has been a dream, every second of it. It's been 2.5 years. So today we're gonna put on a little funeral for it. All right, guys, I really do hate to do this. I don't because it pays me, but I have some ads to do really quick, so I figured it could be part of the little funeral. We're just gonna throw them in real quick. Please watch.
She called it a celebration of an ending, but it felt like resignation. This video ended up being the biggest sign of her fall because it barely had 150,000 views. Critics were quick to notice. Some described the video as a contractual obligation disguised as closure, suggesting she was simply fulfilling her last brand commitments before moving on. Others saw it as a desperate attempt to rebrand failure as self-awareness. Whatever her intent, the upload cemented what everyone already knew. Bobbi Althoff's era of dominance had ended. After the funeral, her post grew darker. She began uploading tearful videos to TikTok, speaking about loneliness and how difficult dating had become since her divorce. Even after the Really Good podcast ended, Bobbi never disappeared completely. She stayed semi-active on TikTok, posting short, detached clips that hinted she wasn't ready to quit. The videos didn't go viral like they used to, but they kept her name alive just enough to linger in the algorithm. Occasionally, she popped up on other people's platforms, most notably on Nick Cannon at Night, where she played the same quiet, withdrawn version of herself, offering one-word answers that frustrated the host and amused the audience.
What do you think, Bobbi? You got any advice for her?
No.
These guest spots weren't career-defining, but they served their purpose. They reminded everyone that Bobbi Althoff still existed, quietly orbiting the spotlight she once dominated. Then, on September 2nd, 2025, she made her move. A YouTube notification dropped. Not this again. Episode 1 with Drake. The title alone sent the internet into chaos. It had been over a year since her infamous interview with him, the same episode that supposedly ended her marriage, destroyed her reputation, and was mysteriously deleted without explanation. Yet, here they were again. The same pairing, the same minimalist set, the same unshakable chemistry that had made her a household name.
Welcome to the first episode that no one asked for.
Not this again.
Wow, we did it. Wow. We didn't even...
Drake's return felt like a sequel no one expected. In the opening moments, he joked that they had spent a week together, a throwaway comment that immediately reignited every rumor the two had ever faced.
I am the biggest bump in your road, huh?
We got in a little argument.
Little tiff?
Little back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Via text message.
I was being a little chippy.
Within 20 minutes, I'm blocked on text, Instagram, everywhere in the interview has to be
Well,
pulled
your
out.
message wasn't nice.
And then that was the end of our friendship.
Yeah.
Why did you hate me?
Can I get another rosé?
The tone was softer this time, more conversational than awkward. Bobbi wasn't hiding behind deadpan humor anymore. She laughed more, spoke more freely, and seemed determined to show growth. But the line between authenticity and performance was still blurry. However, what set the tabloids most on fire were the suggestive images they took to promote the podcast. Behind the scenes, both Bobbi and Drake were also represented by the same agency, a detail that only fueled suspicions that this was less a spontaneous comeback and more a strategic rebranding. For Bobbi, it worked. The episode racked up over 2 million views in the first week, reviving her channel and returning her to trending status. For Drake, it was another headline that kept his name in circulation without controversy. Whatever the truth was, one thing was undeniable. The timing, tone, and optics of their reunion were too perfect to be a coincidence. Bobbi's return didn't just bring her career back from the dead, it reignited the very same theory that had defined her rise. The industry plant label was back, louder than ever, and this time it wasn't just about her, it was about who was really pulling the strings.
I have a very full work ethic. See you soon, gorgeous. You owe me dick, by the way.
Coming to give it to you. Wait there.
I'm waiting.
I don't respect the law.
If you just need to double check, please let me know. I've got no problem. Please feel free. If you just want to fact check it, no problem at all.
That is a clearly photoshopped on top of this degree.
And then when they wouldn't pick up, she left the threatening message that you'll see scroll by here. Pick up, or I'm gonna post your address online.
Why do women cheat on men?
They're actually quite loyal to him. They're more likely to cheat on a man that is too passive, too naive.
What are you going to do about it? I'll suck it if you have an attitude, and I can do it today if I want to.
I want to lick your vagine. She's like, stay awake, I'll be home soon. So she's a side chick, very excited to be so.
If I wanted to, I could suck his dick on your wedding day. If I wanted to.
Why are hot girls so crazy? It's very simple. They get to see the worst side of men. And
in another life, 100% I would be in rehab or jail by now.
All right, you guys ready?
This fake therapist believed she could fix everyone, yet she was caught sending desperate, explicit voice notes to another woman's fiancé begging for his attention. Her name is Sadia Khan.
Nah, I'm getting you pregnant.
Might as well.
a self-acclaimed therapist and psychologist whose psychology degree was photoshopped, with no graduation date, and someone else's name poorly edited out.
That is a clearly photoshopped on top of this degree.
It's like a case of listen to what I say, but don't look too closely at what I do.
Always ask my clients if they're thinking about whether or not to leave their relationship is, do you like the person you are within this relationship, or do you prefer the person you are outside of the relationship?
If a woman is not going in this order, she doesn't love you. She has to be attracted to you first. She has to get a bit obsessed with you after, a bit anxious, worried, where's this going? There has to be some anxiety.
She didn't just fool a few people, she had men paying her up to £8,000 for high-value man coaching packages, believing they were being fixed by a real psychologist.
She could beat me, but she cannot beat my outfit.
I just crashed up the Honda and head out. Left the scene on the beam for my mental. All these Benjis, I'm focused on dead guys.
Across YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, she has over 800,000 followers on each platform. And for years, people believed she was a certified therapist who understood human behavior better than anyone.
There are some girls out there where their entire friendship is based on hating you.
Until her sexual escapades and fraudulent certification came out. And the more you look at her story of her cheating with an engaged man, the more the cracks start to show.
What are you going to do about it? I'll suck it if you have an attitude, and I can do it today if I want to.
People listened because she spoke with confidence, like she had everything figured out. How men think, what women should do, why relationships fail, and how to attract these so-called high-value partners. To many of her followers, she sounded wise. To others, she sounded rehearsed. And then there's part everyone keeps asking about, her mysterious marriage. She claims to be married, yet no one has ever seen this husband. No name, no appearance, no presence, nothing. All we hear is that she lives in Dubai, where she runs her coaching brand offering one-on-one sessions, online programs, and events in cities like London, Dubai, and Los Angeles. But Dubai comes with its own reputation, and when someone builds their brand around femininity, luxury, and high-value dating, people naturally start connecting dots.
What is unique about the dating scene in Dubai?
Dubai is not very representative of the Middle East. It's got a completely different culture to like Muslim values and culture in general. The reason being is it is a playground for the rich and beautiful. What happens is the richest men in the world flock to Dubai. It's got amazing perks if you want to make a lot of money. And any city where there's rich men, there are beautiful women. It really separates the men from the boys, both for men and women. So what happens is the woman has to really feel like everybody's her competition. So if she hasn't worked on anything besides her looks, she's going to find it's a difficult place to meet people, because if you think you're the prettiest girl in the room, there'll be another pretty girl. So it's hard for her to stand out. And for the rich guy, if he leads with money, he will learn that's not enough for the women out here, because she knows 100 millionaires. You have to bring something else to the table. But the problem is the culture and the environment is so distracting. It's difficult for partnerships to connect and last a really long time, even though everybody's craving it.
She is constantly moving. 1 minute in Dubai, the next in Miami, posting polished content, lifestyle videos, and soft life routines. It paints a perfect picture, but the picture starts to look suspicious when you zoom in. Then there's the accent. Born in Pakistan, but presenting herself as a British Pakistani woman, she leans heavily into that refined British tone. And let us be honest. To many people, a British accent automatically sounds educated, polished, and classy. It gives her this aura of sophistication that makes her seem more credible than she actually is. The accent pulls you in.
Guys, I get so many trolls online being like, oh, you think you're better than us, you think your culture is better than ours, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I do. I really do. Because look how fun it is to be an Asian woman. Just look how fun this is.
The image keeps you hooked, but behind that image, something feels off. Because while she presents herself as a highly qualified professional, flaunting degrees, diplomas, and certificates, the internet started doing what the internet does best: investigate.
Another criticism that I see in your videos is you're not a professional.
Yeah, and the thing, I've tried so hard. Like, no other therapist online will have to release their data to everybody. I've even put my qualifications online. I've even, luckily, because Dubai, in order to work in Dubai, they have to police check your qualifications.
And suddenly, people began noticing that these credentials did not quite add up. Dates missing, fonts not matching, certificates looking suspicious. Everything about her professional background started to feel like a costume, perfectly styled, but not real. She also presents herself as a devout Muslim woman, yet the moment the scandal about her involvement with an engaged man leaked, the entire facade began to crumble. Because how do you preach discipline, modesty, values, and boundaries while secretly being involved with someone else's husband-to-be? And the way she spoke to the wife? The way she spoke to Goob's followers after the exposure. You'll see clips of that later in this video. Let us just say it did not match the calm, wise, high-value voice she uses online. It was something else entirely. So how did Sadia manage to fool 800,000 followers? It all started with her pricing. And let's be honest, nothing makes people lose their minds faster than money matters. Right now, a video call with Sadia, one-to-one or couples, costs £500 per hour. That's over $600 USD. And she charges £299 GBP for a voice call with Sadia, one-to-one or couples. That's nearly $400 just to hear her voice on the phone. To put this in perspective, licensed therapists in the UK typically charge between £50 to £150 per session. Even high-end therapists with decades of experience rarely exceed £250 per hour. Sadia is charging double that. And as we'll see later, she doesn't even have legitimate credentials. Alex Vilenchik once asked her what her price was for a podcast appearance, and she replied that it was £5,000. What's the price? The price of podcast appearance is £5,000, as we are confident this will be compensated in views. But here's where it gets really weird. When Sadia Khan first started, back when her following was around 100,000, she charged about £40 per session. That's reasonable, right? As her audience grew to 200,000, prices jumped to £100. At 400,000 followers, she was charging £200. By the time she hit 800,000, those rates had skyrocketed to £500. Many couldn't afford her despite the fact that she's not a certified therapist.
I did also notice a few concerning things as time went on. So the first being the obvious, where the pricing of her sessions started to increase as her social following grew. So initially it was £45, then it went to 68, but then it started to raise much higher to the point where I struggled to be able to afford them consistently, up until the point where I just couldn't afford it at all. So I wasn't someone who was paying like £5,000 or £8,000 for the courses or whatever that she has.
This means her long-term clients, the people who trusted her from the beginning and helped build her platform, were suddenly priced out. Imagine being someone's loyal client, opening up about your deepest struggles, and then being told, sorry, I'm too expensive for you now. That's not therapy. That's a business model designed to squeeze maximum profit from vulnerable people.
Sadia Khan, this woman would lure men into her spells and absolutely do whatever she wants with them, including charging up to $8,000 per hour, which is ridiculous. And she's a pretty woman who says a lot of nice things about men. It's very easy to fall into that trap. She had a huge scandal. It was leaked that she is a side chick involved with an engaged man.
I'm gonna show y'all these nasty, raunchy screenshots.
I have no idea what's going on there. And who is that from?
So you wasn't a side chick, huh?
So she's committing adultery. Self-proclaimed psychologist. We have found out that's completely capped. I'm wondering if her services are a cover-up for her sugar service. All in all, Sadia Khan's fake.
People seeking therapy are already in vulnerable positions. They're dealing with relationship problems, mental health struggles, or life crises. And Sadia knew this. She positioned herself as the solution to their problems, built their trust, and then priced them out as soon as she got more famous clients willing to pay more. Hi, I hope you're well. Since my prices have increased a lot, just wanted to let my former clients know that I do have a subscription model that tackles all the issues you may have and an option to ask questions without having to book a session. Have a great day, Sadia. She also positions herself as a relationship and self-development coach, branding her work around high-value men, masculine confidence, and emotional intelligence. Her defenders might think, but in the coaching world, especially at the high-end level, premium pricing is the norm. And yes, that's technically true. Business coaches, executive consultants, and peak performance specialists charge thousands. But here's the critical difference. Sadia Khan doesn't market herself as just a life coach, she calls herself a psychologist. She claims to have degrees in psychology and therapy certifications. She presents herself as someone qualified to treat mental health issues, not just give motivational pep talks. When you charge therapy-level prices and use therapy-level credentials, you're held to therapy-level standards. And by those standards, Sadia Khan is a complete fraud.
Another criticism that I see in your videos is you're not a professional.
Yeah, and
not
the
an
thing,
actual therapist.
I've tried so hard. Like, no other therapist online will have to release their data to everybody. I've even put my qualifications online. I've even, luckily, because Dubai, in order to work in Dubai, they have to police check your qualifications. I've even put the police check on there to show that it's actually legit. But the problem is when women, particularly, and some very sensitive men, when they're triggered by your information, because they don't have the intelligence to argue and they don't have the experience to have a counter argument, the only thing they can resort to is suggesting that you're not qualified. But it's their go-to argument. But the evidence is all on my website. I went to school in London and I went to UCL, which is in London, University of College of London, and I went to Royal Holloway, and then I also did my master's, and then I went to I did my teacher training, which is a QTS, we call it in London. After that I became into psychotherapy. I started focusing on psychotherapy, and then that's where I am today.
But the biggest controversy is around her signature program, the High Value Man Coaching Package. It's a 3-month program designed for men who want intensive guidance. Depending on the version, allegedly this program costs between £5,999 and £8,999. That is roughly $8,000 to $12,000 based on currency and package type. For that price, what do you actually get? Generic talking points about confidence, masculinity, and dating that you could find for free on YouTube. Work on yourself, set boundaries, be confident, understand female nature. This isn't specialized knowledge, it's repackaged self-help content with a fancy price tag. Also, she lacks the credentials to justify these prices. A legitimate 3-month intensive therapy program with a licensed psychologist might cost £3,000 to £5,000 in the UK, and that would include proper clinical assessment, evidence-based treatment plans, and regulated professional standards.
Guys, one of the questions I ask my clients when they come as a couple to see if their relationship is worth saving is, if you had really high self-esteem and you were exactly the person you wanted to be and life was going really well, would you have selected this partner? And would you leave them tomorrow if you had high self-esteem?
She's tried to debunk some of the prices quoted about her online, claiming people exaggerate what she charges. But multiple former clients have shared receipts, actual invoices, and payment confirmations showing these exact figures. So when she denies it, she's not just defending her business model, she's gaslighting the very people who paid her.
Fruity, you're refuting it point blank.
Point blank.
You've never been with an engaged or married man.
Never, ever engaged, married, relationship. And if the people behind that rumor claim that they've spoken to this man, I would love for that man or these people to bring that man.
There was talk,
because they know directly that that's not true. They actually know for a fact that that's not true. But
her definition of being a high-value woman. Now, to understand why Sadia Khan's scandals hit so hard, you need to know what she was actually teaching, because the gap between her advice and her actions is absolutely jaw-dropping. So what makes someone a high-value woman according to Sadia Khan? Let's break down her philosophy, because every single point will make her later exposure even more damning. According to Sadia Khan, beauty is essential to being a high-value woman, because that's what men respond to. In her worldview, a woman's value is measured by male attention. Your worth isn't about your character, your achievements, or your integrity. It's about whether men find you attractive enough.
beauty is essential to be high value as a woman, not because I believe it, but because this is what men respond to. Naturally nurturing and caring is really important. If she's not family orientated, I know that sounds a bit like, old fashioned, but family orientated and nurturing women naturally enjoy looking after men. But the main thing I would say to be a high value woman is always you have ability to reject attention. High value women can reject attention from men all day, every day. Compliments mean nothing.
But here's the irony that should have been obvious from the start. If you're doing everything for men's approval, are you really high value? Or are you just desperate for validation? And speaking of desperate for validation, Sadia was caught using a waist filter during one of her own public speaking events. Yes, this same woman preaching confidence and natural beauty was digitally editing her body in real time. If you're truly confident and high value, why do you need filters? Sadia Khan places a strong emphasis on appearance, grooming, femininity, and how one presents oneself. In her view, appearance is the primary currency women trade with in relationships, because men are visual. So your starting point of value as a woman is literally how you look. Not your intelligence, not your character, not your loyalty, just your face and body. But it doesn't stop there. Sadia also teaches that high-value women should be quiet, soft-spoken, emotionally contained, and never too expressive.
Imagine if I was posting my body. Imagine if I was posting my boobs and bum, and imagine what their DMs look like. So how can that woman not become narcissistic? How can that woman stay humble when every time her boyfriend annoys her, all she needs to do is post a picture, a throwback from when she was on a beach, and she's forgotten about him?
Does that increase the competition amongst men then, for female partners?
Well, what's happening is men think that they're in control more than they actually are. Men think they're the picks because, well, especially with the podcast scene, they'll tell you, oh, women, she ages out at 30, or this woman, yeah, Myra, dumbass. But they'll say women age out at 30, women, your timeline is so short. They don't realize that for women, especially in this day and age, the timeline is endless. When a woman turns 20, she's got every guy from 18 to 30 following her and messaging her. But when she turns 30, she's just got the same amount of men just pushed forward. It's 30 to 40. When she turns 40, there are still men 40 to 60 seeing her as a young chick. If she's attractive, her queue is endless.
Sadia's teachings revolve entirely around accommodating what men prefer. Cook more, talk less. Don't challenge too much. Stay feminine, stay pleasant. Your value as a woman is determined by how well you fit into a man's ideal fantasy.
Girls, just cook for your husband. Just try it. The amount of problems that can be solved in your marriage or your relationship if you just cook for your man, you'd be surprised. I say this because I work with people who are divorced and going through divorces and all of that stuff. Just cook. It's really not that deep. Just cook for your man. Because there's constant reminders how men need to be the providers, and which they do. Like, I agree, they definitely do. But just cook, honestly, especially if you're a housewife. Just cook.
She teaches emotional regulation as a feminine superpower, which sounds empowering until you realize it just means swallowing your feelings to avoid inconveniencing men. And Sadia loves to position herself above other female content creators. She claims she'd never give shallow advice like other influencers. According to her, those creators make such statements because they're feminist, narcissistic, or just chasing online trends. But Sadia? Her content is different. It has quality and substance.
Guys, whenever I see a content creator with a really heavy female fan base, I automatically know that content creator is going to be shit. The reason being is to have a heavy female content audience, all you have to do is talk endlessly about narcissism, how narcissists ruined your life, and narcissism, their buzzword. The other thing you have to do is talk about manifestation and how you can manifest everything in the world and how you have to have high standards, and talk about what you deserve in a man and how a man should be treating you. Never about how you should be treating a man, how you could potentially be narcissistic, how you should be giving back. It's always about what you should be getting out of people. So the moment you talk about these low-hanging fruit topics, you will blow up and you will get endless female followers. But it's a signal that your content is shit. I can guarantee it.
Now, here's why all of this matters. Sadia Khan built an empire telling women what to do. But behind the scenes, she was the complete opposite of everything she preached. She tells women to maintain mystery and emotional control, yet she sent unhinged, explicit voice notes to a married man begging for his attention. She was exposed as a side piece, yet she was texting her own clients. Every single thing Sadia Khan taught was a lie. Not because the advice itself was necessarily wrong, but because she never lived by any of it. She sold women a fantasy of what a high-value woman looks like, while living the reality of exactly what she told them not to be.
Add on that, protective will make a woman feel safe. She'll make her know that, okay, you see the gaps in things that I haven't seen. You understand things that I don't understand. Whereas toxic will make her think, you know all the problems in our relationships. You know how I treat you.
That's not coaching. That's not psychology. That's fraud wrapped in feminine packaging, sold to vulnerable women desperate for guidance, and exploited by someone who knew exactly what insecurities to target. She was about creating a market of insecure customers willing to pay thousands of dollars to become someone Sadia Khan herself never was. How men easily fall into her trap. Sadia Khan's real talent is manipulation, because once you understand her tactics, you'll see exactly how she built a following of men willing to pay thousands of dollars to someone who was scamming them the entire time.
Biggest mistakes that men make is that they're not dominant enough, and what that does is does two things. Firstly, you attract women who are dominating. If you are a passive man and you're not dominant, you're going to attract a very dominant woman who likes that, because the average woman quite likes a little bit of dominance. So when you're going to attract a very dominant woman, the problem with being with a dominant woman is that she, even though she likes that she can dominate you because she's a strong woman and she kind of needs like a passive puppy, she can't respect it. So she'll like it because it makes her life easier. You'll just do everything she tells you to do. She doesn't have to worry about you cheating. You make her life easier. But she loses the respect, and then you also lose appeal to her. So it works, but it also doesn't lead to respect, and it doesn't lead to chemistry. So I'd say the first thing is to not be...
Sadia Khan doesn't just give advice, she targets male insecurity with expert manipulation. She speaks directly to men's pain points, the ones they never talk about publicly. Fear of rejection, feeling misunderstood by women, anxiety about not being man enough, frustration with modern dating. She positions herself as the one woman who finally understands men.
You as a man, if you want to be masculine, you have to have a very clear understanding of what your non-negotiables are. And what I mean by this is talking to a non-negotiable, or something unfaithful, non-negotiable. I'm not saying you can never forgive behavior, but you forgive the non-deal breakers. Things like she came late, things like she lost her temper. If it's constant non-negotiables that you are forgiving, you lose your masculinity. And the bigger thing to remember is you become miserable. You become a man full of hate and resentment and anger and hostility. So you're forgiving her for breaking all your boundaries and your non-negotiables, but you don't even like her anymore. She might ask you to stay if she's using you, but really what she's thinking is, well, if it makes you that miserable, no one's begging you to stay.
Think about how powerful that is for a man who feels constantly criticized. Society tells him he's toxic. Women tell him he's not good enough. Dating apps reject him. He's lonely, frustrated, and desperate for someone to tell him it's not his fault.
Psychological intimacy is, do we have the same vision of where we see ourselves in 5, 6, 10 years' time? And are we both aligned in the values that will take us there? And if we've got an alignment, you're probably quite intimate. If you haven't got an alignment, you can enjoy them, but chances are it won't be a long-lasting.
Then Sadia Khan appears, beautiful and polished, telling him you're not the problem. You're logical, disciplined, capable, and strong. Women just don't understand you.
I would say what keeps a man happy is they actually require a lot more emotional investment than we think. What we are taught is they just want to be attracted to you, they just want you to give them sex, and they just want you to give them peace, and they don't even define peace, they just say give them peace. But all of that is actually negated by the fact that they actually want far more emotional investment than they say. A man doesn't have the luxury of going to his friends saying how he felt, or going to his, telling people his problems. So when he finds a wife that he can be himself with, and she shows emotional investment, she cares about what's going on with his life, with his physical health, with his, if he's eaten, if he's not eaten, she genuinely invests in him emotionally, he's far more happy. But whereas when a man cheats, a lot of men think, oh, he just wants sex with somebody young or somebody else, but usually he just wants to feel desired by somebody else.
That validation is intoxicating. It's comfort in a bottle. And once men are hooked on that feeling, they'll pay anything to keep it coming.
Why are men unable to be masculine these days? It's very simple. They believe women when women say they want a man that loves her far more than she loves him, who will let her do whatever she wants, let her wear whatever she wants, let her talk to her ex, lets her do whatever she wants, and pays every bill at the same time. But the truth is, the moment she meets a man who doesn't set boundaries, she loses all respect for him. She becomes frustrated that he lets her make all the decisions. She becomes frustrated that he shows no jealousy whatsoever. She becomes frustrated that he doesn't know how to stand up for himself, particularly when she has has a family with him. Instead, what they truly want is a man with high self-esteem. And a man with high self-esteem will never love a woman far more than she loves him, will never pay a woman simply because she's a woman, but instead will pay and support her because she's loyal, she's loving, she's nurturing, and she's looking after the home. If she's not doing those things, he's not paying.
But here's what makes this a scam. Sadia Khan doesn't actually understand men. She understands marketing to men. There's a difference. She tells men exactly what they want to hear, not what they need to hear. You don't need to change. Women need to change. You're already high value. You just need the right woman to recognize it. It's not your fault you're single. Modern women have unrealistic standards.
Purpose gives your masculinity depth. It makes you more than just another man. It makes you a man with gravity. But let me make this clear. Purpose doesn't mean you must know your entire life plan.
This isn't therapy. This isn't coaching. This is emotional manipulation disguised as empowerment. And the sickest part? While she's telling men they're strong, logical, and capable, she's simultaneously exploiting their deepest insecurities to extract money from them. She's selling them an $8,000 course on masculinity while treating them like ATMs. Let's be brutally honest, most of the men who fall for Sadia Khan are simps, and she knows it. She targets men who are so starved for female validation that they'll believe anything a pretty woman tells them.
The third thing I always recommend to men, and again this is some religious connotation, is choose a woman that has the ability to generate money, even if you don't need her money.
How she was exposed. It was during an interview with Abba and Preach that it became clear Sadia Khan had been lying. And that's when her alleged cheating and infidelity came to the spotlight. Abba and Preach are a popular black Canadian vlogging and comedy duo known for their commentary on culture, social issues, and current events, investigating and revealing hidden things about public figures and events.
So these screenshots are not everywhere from my understanding.
Okay, so it's got my team's number on there. And I just don't know how to make it go away. But is there a way that we can avoid talking about the screenshots altogether?
Abba and Preach are known for doing their homework, so when they exposed Sadia Khan, people took it seriously. During the interview, it became apparent that she had been involved with an engaged man. The evidence was overwhelming, screenshots showing she knew he was engaged.
I had screenshots, but I needed to tie it to her. The screenshots I had a specific phone number on them. We didn't know who that phone number belonged to. The person who sent them in saying, oh, she was my fiance, she claims it belonged to Sadia, but we didn't have proof.
Voice notes, where she spoke explicitly about sexual acts.
So now we move on to the cheater infidelity allegations. The one where she's a side piece. Who else has a side chick on this level? Gives them no stress. Told you I'm such a side chick.
And a timeline proving this wasn't just a one-time mistake, but an ongoing affair. In the leaked messages, Sadia literally calls herself a side chick, and brags about satisfying him better than his fiancé. In another text, she talks about doing whatever she wants with another woman's man. Abba asked her directly about the voice note where she spoke crudely about sexual acts. He also confronted her with the screenshots and timeline. Sadia didn't know Abba had all this evidence. She thought it was a friendly interview. When Abba read out the phone number from the screenshots, Sadia quickly claimed it was her team's number.
Also, just to confirm, I was given like two different numbers. I have one here. I don't know which one might be yours or maybe like the assistant that says 9749. Is that wrong?
3719?
Yeah.
That is correct.
Shots are not everywhere from my understanding. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. I have no idea what's going on there. And who is that from?
This was like, I guess, a screenshot from a video. So whoever sent this, I guess she was taking screenshots of sorts or taking pictures while she was like scrolling through.
Right. Okay. So it's got my team's number on there. Because that's the number that you get when...
But then Abba revealed he had proof that the number was hers personally, with messages only she could have sent. She walked straight into his trap and had no choice but to admit the voice was hers.
Nasty, raunchy screenshots that might turn you on, but will also make you disgusted. The best kind of erection. I'm gonna show y'all these screenshots. Why? Y'all can see how your favorite dating coach really be out here in these streets.
God damn.
But yeah, we can have on Saturday.
Shut up, man.
Have fun. See you soon, gorgeous. You owe me, by the way.
Coming to give it to you. Wait there.
I'm waiting. But let's aim for not going back, though.
You never left.
You wouldn't expect that kind of text from someone who calls herself a high-value woman, right? Especially from someone claiming to be a licensed psychologist. You'd expect professional, measured communication befitting someone with psychology degrees. Instead, we got desperate, crude language that contradicts every principle of the emotional intelligence she claims to teach. Her infidelity or involvement as a side chick to a married man. For years, Sadia Khan cultivated an image as the ultimate authority on relationships. The woman who knew exactly how to maintain integrity, command respect, and embody high-value behavior in every interaction. She marketed herself as the embodiment of self-control, strategic thinking, and refined feminine power, positioning herself as the go-to expert for anyone seeking meaningful, committed partnerships. That carefully constructed image was shattered when private messages between her and an engaged man leaked across social media platforms. The text and voice recordings exposed a side of Sadia that contradicted everything she'd been selling. Raw, unfiltered conversations that stripped away the professional veneer and revealed someone desperate for a taken man's attention.
Do about it. I'll suck your dick if you have an attitude, and I can do it today if I want to.
Go on.
And I can do it on your wedding day and your birthday.
Okay, well,
and
we'll
the days
see.
after.
Okay.
I've been in situations where he's been with you in a social setting. He'll call me after.
In the leaked exchanges, she made statements that left her followers stunned. In one voice note, she graphically describes acts, using explicit language completely unbefitting someone claiming to be a licensed psychologist. In another message, she boasted about her sexual prowess, essentially competing with his fiancée for his affection.
Get off.
What are you going to do about it? I'll suck your dick if you have an attitude, and I can do it today if I want to.
I'm not gonna lie.
At one point, she allegedly suggested she could satisfy the engaged man better than his partner. In another part of the conversation, she even referred to herself as a side chick.
She was like a permanent side chick. She likes that shit, apparently.
Jesus Christ, my God.
You want to know one of the funny parts, too? He tells women not to be attention-seeking, to value themselves.
For someone who has always taught other women that emotional control is a feminine superpower, high-value women don't act desperate or chase validation from men who aren't fully available.
The ultimate source of high value is self-control. If you can exercise self-control, you start to respect yourself more. Every time, think of the times where you could have cheated and you said no, you feel like a superhero. You're like, oh my God, I rejected her. I feel so good about myself.
But in those voice notes, she's doing the exact opposite. She's pursuing someone else's fiancé. She's competing with another woman. She's using explicit language to try to secure a man who's already committed. She's literally referring to herself as a side chick, the very role she tells women to never accept. The scandals spread fast. Comment sections are filled up. People naturally began questioning her authenticity. Reaction videos popped up. Critics and supporters went head-to-head online. Some said everyone makes mistakes. Others said this wasn't a mistake, it was hypocrisy. Crazy world we live in. That's one I don't listen any influencers these days. I pray to God when I need an advice, period. Sadia Khan is the most male-centered woman. The leaked content wasn't casual conversation or misunderstood text. These were explicit, sexually charged messages that directly contradicted her professional claims about emotional maturity and relationship wisdom. Many followers felt completely betrayed. Something about her always seemed insincere. I did not like listening to her because of that. The situation became even more damaging because Sadia hadn't just sold herself as a relationship coach, she'd positioned herself as an ethical authority, someone qualified to diagnose problems and prescribe solutions for the exact type of behavior she was engaging in. The hypocrisy was impossible to ignore. The cringe sexting incident. In this whole drama, not only is she fighting to be a side chick, but apparently she's also sexting most of her clients. Let's check out some of the disturbing texts.
But yeah, we can have on Saturday.
Shut up, man.
Have fun. See you soon, gorgeous. You owe me, by the way.
Coming to give it to you. Wait there.
I'm waiting. But let's aim for not going back, though.
You never left.
No, babe. You never left.
Nah, I'm getting you pregnant.
Might as well.
Not looking after it, though.
What could go wrong, except everything?
Another one says, when there is life, there is hope.
followed by bum cheeks. KMT. Here's another one, where she's proclaiming to be a classic side chick, or should I say, a high-value side chick. Girls can choose any man. No, in Dubai, period. Who else has a side chick on this level, lol, and gives them no stress? Told you I'm such a sick side chick. We can't have a normal convo without you talking about hoes, relationships, marriage, cheating, murder. Heal, man. Oh, welcome to Sadia. And yet another one. They just to marinate. Alright, won't be long. Get excited. Just FYI, I'm not taking any more 11 p.m. school night appointments. I still haven't caught up on the missed sleep. You had fun though. You don't know that. Might have hated it. I'll leave my car running next time. No point switching it off. Well, you left my front door open.
Won't be long, get excited. Just FYI, I'm not taking any more 11 p.m. school night appointments. I still haven't caught up on the missed sleep. You had fun though. You don't know I might have hated it. I'll leave my car running next.
Can you picture someone who brands herself as a high-value woman sending explicit messages to men who aren't her husband? Even worse, these aren't random men. Shockingly, all of these are her clients. I mean, these people pay a shitload of money to seek her counsel on masculinity, and this is how she heals them? I'm sure most of those men are desperate for female validation anyway, because what truly confident man needs a woman to teach him how to be masculine? And not to mention paying £8,000 for such a ridiculous course. What does this program even offer? According to her own marketing, the 3-month high-value man package covers masculine confidence, understanding female psychology, and dating strategies. But here's the problem. She teaches men to avoid desperate low-value women, yet she herself was caught being a side piece to an engaged man. She preaches emotional control, yet her leaked voice notes show desperate, validation-seeking behavior. She's literally teaching the opposite of what she practices. That's not a course, that's fraud packaged into an overpriced program. How she admitted to cheating. Now, with all this evidence floating around online, the screenshots, the voice notes, the timelines, you might be wondering, how did it all come out? Did someone leak it? Was she hacked? No, Sadia Khan actually exposed herself, and she had no idea she was doing it. And just so you can stop wondering how word got out about her cheating case, Sadia Khan unknowingly admitted to cheating in one of her interviews. What happened was that the Instagram page that first exposed her invited her to a live stream, which was GoobU2. GoobU2 is the social media handle for John Dorsey. He's known primarily for his work in the fitness industry, where he actively exposes deception, manipulation, and photo editing tactics used by influencers.
What are you going to do about it? I'll suck it if you have an attitude, and I can do it today if I want to.
This is the biggest scandal that Sadia Khan doesn't want you to know about.
He teamed up with Abba and Preach, and they made her believe they were on her side and that the call was just to create a friendly puff piece to help her PR.
Screenshots and everything, we've actually traced it from Dubai police. They were able to give us the names. I worked with a particular person in 2021. I was in a relationship, but he was really, really into me. He used to always call me, always be like this, he was in a relationship as well. He was like a bit obsessed with me or whatever, but he wasn't in one relationship. He was in like 5-6 different girls. He's a player like in Dubai.
During the call, they read out a phone number that appeared in the screenshot where Sadia Khan was bragging about doing whatever she wanted with another woman's man.
Touch your man, and this is my nature, right? This is honestly my nature. If I wanted to, I could suck his dick on your wedding day. If I wanted to, I could have your man. He's called me when he's in social situations saying, oh, you're so boring without you, blah, blah, this, that, and the other. So I was saying, if I wanted to, I could do all of this.
Before the host could even finish, Sadia quickly claimed the number belonged to her team.
2 different numbers. I have one here. I don't know which one might be yours or maybe like the assistant. That says 9749. Is that wrong?
3719?
Yeah.
That is correct.
Do you see the way she said the last digits? Why is that important?
And that's where the real question comes in. Why is your team messaging another woman late at night about her husband? Also, she was not aware that Abba and Preach had a screenshot of her phone number linked directly to those explicit texts. The evidence showed her number attached to messages that were graphic and clearly personal, not something any team member would be sending. So when they showed her the proof on screen, she could not deny that it was her anymore. You should see the reaction on her face. She just said, because that is the number you see when you join my WhatsApp group. Like, what? That does not even make any sense. You can tell from the video she was visibly panicking, scrambling for words.
Text people from this number?
I've got my group WhatsApp, and they put all my WhatsApp people that join my 3M and the people that join that. Because that number is available, like if you join the WhatsApp, anyone can have that number. That number is available.
What do you mean it's available? I don't know. What does that mean?
As soon as you join the free calls or you sign up to be in the 3M program, they put you into a WhatsApp group, and that WhatsApp group has that.
She was then asked point blank if it was her voice in the voice note and the text, and she admitted that she was the one.
What's going on there? And who's that from?
This was like, I guess, a screenshot from a video. So whoever sent this, I guess she was taking screenshots of sorts or taking pictures while she was like scrolling through.
Right. Okay. So it's got my team's number on there.
Meanwhile, she didn't know the call was being recorded. So when the call was posted, she started sending threatening messages to Goob, saying the police were investigating the matter and that everything was all AI. It was after this came out that people started sharing how they never really trusted her advice in the first place. Many said her takes always sounded a bit desperate, like something just wasn't right. I read her reaction to when Andrew Tate entered that podcast. She was drawn to him. She kept adjusting her hair. Her entire body language betrayed her. She always simped for Andrew. She was flirting with Andrew Tate in an interview.
If you're a high value, successful man, your filter is naturally certain types of women. A good girl at home, she would be afraid to talk to you, intimidate. You would never come across her in your life.
No, you can still come across her. I mean,
wow.
I don't think you really necessarily find a good girl. You find a girl who's not yet completely broken, and you're man enough to make her be a good girl for you. A lot of women are reflections of their men. So if her man's a G, and he's got his game right, and she behaves herself for him, she'll be a good woman. If her next man's doing coke, hitting the club, being an idiot, she goes off the deep end.
What do you think of Andrew Tate?
I like Andrew. Yeah, I like Andrew. We speak quite regularly and stuff, and we agree. We say that we agree on about 80% or 70% of things. We agree on a lot of things. I disagree on a few things, and when we disagree, we can converse like adults and kind of find a logical conclusion. But it's nothing personal, and just because somebody has a different opinion doesn't mean they're a bad person in certain things. So I really enjoy watching his content and stuff.
It's honestly easy to see how men fell for someone like her. She created this illusion of a safe space for them, making them feel understood. She positioned herself as the woman who really gets what women want, while also telling men they don't need to change. In her world, it's the women who must adjust, compromise, and bend, while the men are perfect just the way they are. That kind of message naturally pulls men in because it removes all accountability from them.
In my personal experience with the women that do cheat, it's not that all women cheat, but the women that do cheat, it's very little to do with the woman herself. It's more to do with the man she selects.
Really?
Yeah. In my experience, I can look at a couple and tell by the man if she's going to cheat. Where the men and her have a very strong dynamic, where it's very clear that they know each other inside out and where they can be themselves completely. And more so than anything, I can tell she feels safe in his company. It's unlikely she cheats. But where I feel like she's kind of the boss, or she feels like she doesn't respect his opinion, and it's not necessarily he's kind of allowed himself to take that backseat, where she can disrespect him openly, where she feels like she can tell him anything and he just instantly believes it and follows her commands, it sets him in a position where she doesn't have a fear of losing him. And as a result of no fear of losing him, there's an openness to try alternatives, because she knows if worst case scenario he finds out, he's still going to stay.
It's a fairly dismal view of people
I know.
You've just put forward.
And let's not lie, she has the face card every man would want. Her looks play a huge part, and that is basically because she looks like a doll. She has done extensive cosmetic work, like the Kardashians or Kylie Jenner level of work, to the point that her face barely moves when she talks, which many men find attractive.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with getting work, but usually when a woman's had a lot of work done, she hasn't paid for those surgeries herself. She uses men as a jump off. And so when you see a woman with a lot of surgery, just know women don't like to pay for their surgeries and stuff. So when she's had a lot, that's come from a man. So you're just the next surgery, or you're the next rent, or you're the next car deposit. And if you can't spot that, then you're going to be humbled quick.
And have you ever also noticed she never appears on social media without full makeup? She can't. She has to look like a flawless showpiece at all times. She praises men openly, and she says all the things all men want to hear.
Now, a lot of creators today will still find it surprising that women like Sadia can somehow be a side chick. Not me. Understand this. Sadia is a wealthy, unmarried, attractive woman over the age of 30 who is not celibate. These type of women target the small percentage of men at the top, which means she will be sharing. If you understand money pill, you'll know why women date horizontally and up and end up sharing.
So it's not surprising that people now believe her entire business model was built on attraction and manipulation. The polished appearance, the constant male validation, the "I understand you better than other women" messaging, all designed to extract maximum money from vulnerable men seeking guidance.
Sadia Khan, this woman would lure men into her spells and absolutely do whatever she wants with them, including charging up to $8,000 per hour, which is ridiculous. And she's a pretty woman who says a lot of nice things about men. It's very easy to fall into that trap. She had a huge scandal. It was leaked that she is a side chick involved with an engaged man.
I'm gonna show y'all these nasty, raunchy screenshots.
I have no idea what's going on there. And who is that from?
So you wasn't a side chick, huh?
So she's committing adultery. Self-proclaimed psychologist. We have found out that's completely capped. I'm wondering if her services are a cover-up for her sugar service. All in all, Sadia Khan's fake.
And speaking of men she's been involved with, we need to talk about what happened between her and some of the biggest names in the male-centered circle, because that's where things get even messier. So Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit tweeted this: "Sadia Khan is a fraud. She's been talking shit on me for years after I refused to platform her on Fresh and Fit because of her entitled attitude when I was in Dubai 1 to 2 years ago. She was just exposed for allegedly cheating with an engaged man as a side piece, undermining her credibility. Years ago, I called her out on her claims of being in a long-term relationship and presenting herself as a high-value woman, despite the fact I knew for certain she was actually single and purposely lying on every podcast she went on early in her career. The worst part? Men take her seriously, spending thousands on her consultations. Let me be clear, gentlemen. Female dating coaches advising men are generally ineffective. Why? Because women cannot fully empathize with the male experience. They'll never live it or truly understand it. Women navigate dating with inherent advantages, making it nearly impossible for them to offer practical strategies to boost your market value or effectively approach women as a man, because they have zero clue. Never ask the fish how to fish. Ask the fisherman." So she was lying about being in a long-term relationship so that people would think she had experience and could talk about relationships all she wanted. But in reality, she wasn't in any relationship, or if she was cheating. Because this is Andrew Tate's reply to Myron Gaines' tweet. Blowjob too. So let's break down what this means. Sadia had a public interview with Andrew Tate where she was agreeing with his views and praising him professionally. But according to Andrew Tate's own tweet, something intimate happened between them behind closed doors.
If you're a high-value, successful man, your filter is naturally certain types of women. A good girl at home, she would be afraid to talk to you, intimidate. You would never come across her in your life.
No, you can still come across her. I mean,
wow.
I don't think you really necessarily find a good girl. You find a girl who's not yet completely broken, and you're man enough to make her be a good girl for you. A lot of women are reflections of their men. So if her man's a G, and he's got his game right, and she behaves herself for him, she'll be a good woman. If her next man's doing coke, hitting the club, being an idiot, she goes off the deep end.
Now here's where the contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. Sadia has always claimed to be in a committed long-term relationship. She uses this supposed relationship as proof of her credibility. "I practice what I preach," she tells her audience. But if Andrew Tate's statement is true, then one of two things happened. Either she was in a relationship and cheated with Andrew Tate, which destroys her entire high-value woman brand, or she was never in a relationship at all, and has been lying to her followers for years to seem more credible as a relationship expert. Either way, she's been deceiving people. Funny enough, Andrew Tate is publicly known to have multiple children with different women, at least 5 baby mothers.
Andrew Tate.
Yes.
I feel like he's been quite helpful for women as well.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I'm a fan of Andrew. I've got no qualms with Andrew, but here's the thing.
So the woman who teaches self-respect and high standards allegedly got involved with him. Even worse, Andrew publicly criticized the encounter. The high-value woman coach couldn't even meet his standards. Devastating for someone charging thousands to teach others about value.
Suck dick. Shut the f*** up about trying to say, oh, I'm actually having, I don't suck dick. You suck. You sucking. If you were high value, you wouldn't have to tell people for real. It's just, it's a weird thing to also like to have a meter like that.
Forged proof of education. No date on the certificate. Now, the story could have been a little easier to handle if this part hadn't been involved, but no, it has to get worse. You know how she claimed to be a licensed psychologist and therapist? It turns out it was all a lie. She doesn't even have a certificate. You might ask, how has she been getting by? Well, she actually has some documents uploaded on her website, something that looks like a certificate. But when people started doing their own research, the truth came out. The first thing people noticed that was whenever she is asked to provide her license, she gets judgmental and defensive.
The only reason I don't have a DHA license is because when I first qualified, it expired. I didn't renew it because I was now online and I wasn't working in clinics. And in clinics, you need a DHA license.
I guess my question is, have you ever really had a DHA license in Dubai?
I started applying for it, but then my career took off.
As if people don't trust her, which I think should be the other way around. She should be proud to show off her degrees if she had truly worked for them. But her defensive reactions made people dig deeper, and what they found was shocking.
Another criticism that I see in your videos is you're not a professional.
Yeah, and
not
the
an
thing,
actual therapist.
I've tried so hard. No other therapist online will have to release their data to everybody. I've even put my qualifications online. I've even, luckily, because Dubai, in order to work in Dubai, they have to police check your qualifications. I've even put the police check on there.
So she has a Photoshop degree for her master's in science that doesn't even have a date on it. Have you ever seen a legitimate degree with no date? Every real university certificate includes the date of graduation. It's standard practice worldwide. But Sadia's? Nothing. People discovered she took someone else's certificate, a person named Yinbo Uyu, and simply replaced the name with hers. But she made amateur mistakes. The font doesn't even match the rest of the certificate. The spacing is off. Any graphic designer could spot the Photoshop in seconds.
Do you see this Photoshop?
No date.
Do you see the name? That is a clearly Photoshopped on top of this degree.
But that is.
She took it from somewhere. She took it from here. This is it right there. It's the same doctor. It's the same everything. That's it. She stole this person's degree.
Of a truth, it would be unfair to say some clients haven't benefited from all her years of posting motivational videos and offering therapy. Like this guy said, there was some sort of value in the therapy when they started, but as time went by, the rapid commercialization became concerning.
My little critical analysis of this point is that the therapeutic work did have value, but the rapid commercialization was concerning. And then as we also started to have other sessions
She also started teaching from her own ideology rather than the standard point of view a professional therapist should have. But now many clients are left wondering if the advice they've taken from her is even relevant, now that so many scandals about her are out in the public. Also, I'm pretty sure her MS degree was in Psychology of Education, aka she's a school teacher. All her certs are for education, not psychology. I can't stand this witch. There was always something off about her, like she'll say some really on-point stuff, but then she has this teenage girl attitude where she's just clamoring herself. Her own side of the story and claims. When asked what Sadia Khan has to say about this whole controversy, she said people don't care about the truth, and that many are already looking forward to her downfall. So it's easier for them to believe what bloggers are saying about her quickly.
What do you say to those who now question your credibility?
I think what happens is if I said the exact same things, maybe I was 20 years older or maybe I was a bit overweight, whatever it is, I think it would resonate a lot better with people. I think they would just accept that this is a form of wisdom. Society is not used to the idea of a woman being a bit put together and having some intellectual credibility. So if they can't attack you about your appearance and they can't attack you about your chastity, they'll go straight for your credibility. What they've tried to do is attack me on all fronts. And successfully, I'm not going to lie, they've done it very well. The problem is people aren't actually invested in the truth. They're invested in you breaking down the person that they envy or hate the most. Even if I was to give my side of the story, the problem I'm going to face is the people that have hatred and jealousy towards you don't care about the truth.
In the video where she addressed the rumor on her channel, she penned this comment. Summary of lies. Not qualified. Taught psychology for 10 years, with qualifications in psychology, psychotherapy, CBT, and relationship counseling. 2. Charge $8K an hour. Complete lie. I charge less than 5% of this. Dated a married man. Never even happened. Was never even with a married or engaged man. Well, as expected, we shouldn't expect her to admit that these accusations are true. While she was addressing the rumor, she spoke highly of herself, saying people are finding it hard to believe that a woman of her age can have such an amount of wisdom to share, and that maybe if she were 20 years older, people would believe her more. Sadia Khan thinks of herself as someone who's attractive, and she believes that because people can't attack her appearance and her chastity, which I'll put in quotes, they will go straight for her credibility. In her words, I think society is not used to the idea of a woman being a bit put together and having some intellectual credibility. So in her mind, she thinks she's a bit put together. But instead of providing actual evidence to clear her name, she's chosen a different approach: deflection. According to Sadia, she's not going to give her own side of the story because people are just jealous and hateful.
But the problem is people aren't actually invested in the truth. They're invested in you breaking down the person that they envy or hate the most. So even whether there's truth to it or not, they're not actually invested in that. So I'd love, even if I was to give my side of the story, the problem I'm going to face is the people that have hatred and jealousy towards you don't care about the truth. And even though we can easily find the truth, they don't want to do the investigation for that. So for example...
You're refuting it point blank.
Point blank.
You've never been with an engaged or married man.
Never, ever engaged, married, relationship. And if the people behind that rumor claim that they've spoken to this man, I would love for that man or these people to bring that man.
There was talk,
because they know directly that that's not true. They actually know for a fact that that's not true. But I don't charge £8,000 an hour. I wish. I mean, it's a great rumor to have because it kind of up to stock, but it's definitely not the case. I actually charge £500 at most. Who are craving what you have and a bit that they don't have access to some of the luxuries or the kind of privileges that you might have got. They want to always take it down.
When she was asked about the voice note that got leaked, this is what she said.
Can you kind of explain the situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So what actually happened is I had no memory of this whatsoever. I've never been with anybody married, never been with anybody engaged. That's a verifiable fact. So I assumed this was fake. When I went to the police and stuff about it and legal things, I said just to ask around and see what's been going on. And I spoke to somebody. In 2021, I was a teacher. I wasn't famous. There was nothing. I was not a famous person in any way, shape, or form. So I didn't understand what was going on. But I went to everybody I worked with. I was a teacher of psychology, so people who say, oh...
Now, the same person, Sadia Khan, who said she has no memory of the phone call, also narrated that there was a guy she worked with when she was a physiology teacher in an institution. The guy started seeing a girl, and because Sadia and the guy were quite close, the girl thought they were dating. The girl was said to be engaged to this guy from Sadia's workplace. She called Sadia and asked about her relationship with her fiancé.
Started seeing some girl. She kind of went through my phone and saw that we send videos and memes to each other during work because we work together. And she rang you. Do you remember she rang you? And I was like, I actually don't remember this. And he's like, she rang you and she recorded it without you knowing. I had no idea of this. So I was like, yeah, but where would she get the married part from? And he said, before that, they've only snipped 6 seconds of a 20-minute call. Before that, she was saying, oh, well, what kind of woman are you? I bet you spend all your time on your knees, and kind of insulting my religion, insulting my background. I didn't know this woman. I'd never been with this man. He's not married. They're not engaged. And I said, excuse me, don't get rude to me. If I wanted to, because she said...
Sadia claims that during that phone call with the fiancé, she made some inflammatory remarks in the first 6 seconds. Remarks that ended up in that leaked 20-minute voice note. According to Sadia, she said something along the lines of being able to take the man if she wanted to, essentially telling the fiancé that she could compete for him.
She recorded it without you knowing. I had no idea of this. So I was like, yeah, but where would she get the married part from? And he said, before that, they've only snipped 6 seconds of a 20-minute call. Before that, she was saying, oh, well, what kind of woman are you? I bet you spend all your time on your knees, and kind of insulting my religion, insulting my background. I didn't know this woman. I'd never been with this man.
Now, what do we believe? First, she claims she has no memory of the phone call, but then she remembers incredibly specific details about who the guy was, where she worked, why the fiancé called, and what she said. You can't have it both ways. The more Sadia Khan tries to cover her trail, the more questionable she becomes. The level at which she remembers the details of the event shows that Sadia knows what she's doing and is intentionally twisting the truth. She even called the man a player, saying he's a very promiscuous man, and that if she wanted to do anything with him, she could do it any time of the day.
Nobody was interested in you, man. Who are you? I've never heard of you. And go speak to all the other girls he's talking to. He's a single, and by his own admission, he's a single man. And it's just that my tone in that was kind of just cut and made it look like I was talking about a marriage.
Plus, did you notice how she kept emphasizing that the guy has never been married, rather than saying the affair never happened?
What are the rumors?
The main rumor is that I was having an affair with a married man, which has never, ever, ever happened. Or even engaged or in a relationship, man. That's
Someone
never
said you were engaged, the guy was married.
The man was engaged.
The man was engaged, you were not married. You're just running around.
I was running around breaking up homes, which is zero truth in it. And the people behind the rumor will never be able to produce any evidence for that because they know directly that that's not true. They actually know for a fact that that's not true, but that's kind of the running game. And that I'm this side chick who charges £8,000 an hour to help marriages, even though I'm a side chick. So I don't charge £8,000 an hour. I wish. I mean, it's a great rumor to have because it kind of up to stock, but it's definitely not the case. I actually charge £500 at most per hour, and there's zero truth to the married side chick man, and people behind that rumor can never prove that. And they're trying their best to, but they can never.
So are you refuting it point blank?
Point blank.
You've never been with an engaged or married man?
Never, ever engaged, married, relationship.
Her complete meltdown and reaction. Another juicy part of this story that makes people question her character is this. When Goob, the fitness influencer, exposed her about the waist filter he caught Sadia using during one of her public speaking events, and also posted about her £8,000 for her sessions, Sadia Khan responded by attacking Goob's followers for 2 whole days. She accused them of being animal porn addicts, cheaters, prostitutes, and everything in between. Sorry, but I agree with that girl, especially when it comes to a profession like yours. Just giving my opinion, but yeah, ultimately it's your decision. Because you are brokey and entitled. So I asked somebody who gives endless free advice and is incredibly popular online to lower my prices so broke people like yourself can endlessly book me and I have no time off. You don't speak like you do on your videos. There was no need to be angry or disrespectful. I never said it should be free, but I felt £550 for an hour session is too much. But again, it's your life, your profession. I just shared an opinion. This wasn't just about you, but about mental health in general. Health issues don't care whether you're rich or broke, and verbally abusing like this isn't apt for a psychologist, Sadia. It's too cheap for you because you're a cheap and entitled tramp. Later, one of Goob's followers left a comment on her page, and she tried to call them via audio 4 or 5 times. When they wouldn't pick up, she left a threatening message saying she would expose them and ruin their reputation, warning them to stop commenting on her posts or face consequences. Would you expect a professional therapist or psychologist to react like this? Cassia West, who is also a professional therapist, had once spoken to Sadia Khan about her credentials, pointing out that they were not credible. She advised her to take them down and stop claiming to be licensed, assuring her that it wouldn't prevent her from giving advice. After all, there are plenty of people on social media offering guidance. In Cassia West's words,
she's getting exposed for being the mistress to this billionaire. It seems to be her MO that she will immediately go to telling girls that their man wants her. It is legitimately.
Now, after Sadia Khan saw what Cassia posted about her, guess what her response was? Less than 500 views when you talk and 12,000 views when you mention me and have me on your thumbnail. Says it all. I would be mad too. This just further reinforces the idea that Sadia Khan is a shameless fraud. This is not how professionals speak to people. Instead of admitting her wrongs and apologizing to avoid future humiliation, she's comfortable living the lie, as long as some subset of subscribers believe her. In the end, the Sadia Khan Saga is more than just online drama. It's a cautionary tale about accountability, credibility, and the limits of social media influence. From misleading credentials to threatening followers and deflecting criticism. Her actions reveal a pattern that goes beyond personal mistakes. Professionals should inspire trust, admit faults, and lead with integrity, not weaponize followers or gaslight critics. Sadia Khan's story serves as a reminder that no amount of online fame or viral content can replace honesty, good character, responsibility, and true expertise.
People complain about the price of your food. Why is it so expensive?
We are not expensive. This is, perception, not reality. Our product, best of the best.
If one person was to come to your restaurant, though, how much would they spend on ordering food?
$15 possible, $100 possible.
Videos of the incident went viral on social media, amassing millions of views and drawing global media coverage. Turkish police launched an investigation questioning 2 employees involved in the stunt, and Azur issued no immediate public statement, but operations continued.
He was the man who made seasoning a steak look like a religious experience. A single flick of his wrist turned him from a Turkish butcher into one of the internet's most recognizable faces. Salt Bae was once the literal embodiment of modern virality. His restaurants stretch from Istanbul to Miami, New York to Dubai.
Hi!
Yes, sir.
It's my birthday. Thank you! Thank you so much. We love your food.
That's it, man. Thank you so much.
Celebrities lined up to meet him. The late Diego Maradona, Al Pacino, Lionel Messi, and even Steve Harvey. Each one captured mid-bite, fed by his hand as if part of some lavish ritual, all filming their own Salt Bae moment. A 10-second clip made him a meme, and that meme made him a millionaire. But for every sprinkle of success, there was a grain of controversy. The same internet that made Salt Bae famous would soon tear him apart, frame by frame. Videos of him slicing gold-covered steaks gave way to accusations of exploitation and greed. He was called tone-deaf, arrogant, a man addicted to his own reflection. One post would show a 37,000-pound dinner bill captioned, "Quality, never expensive." Another would show him hugging and kissing Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, on the cheek while the country starved.
La sal, mira. Nosotros estamos nos vemos en Caracas.
At his own restaurant in Istanbul, 4 diners were set ablaze during one of his fiery stunts, leaving a model hospitalized with third-degree burns. In London, people complained of 11-pound Red Bulls and 9-pound bottles of water, calling his restaurant one of the worst in the city. Still, he didn't slow down. He expanded into Dubai, Miami, New York, Los Angeles, and London, chasing the glitter of global fame. He opened burger joints that sold $100 gold-coated patties, posted photos of $100,000 receipts, and built a following of over 50 million on Instagram. But behind the glamour were lawsuits, tip theft allegations, and staff who described his management style as dictatorial. When the 2022 World Cup ended in Qatar, Salt Bae forced his way onto the pitch, pestering Lionel Messi for selfies. Kissing the World Cup trophy, which was something only players and heads of state are allowed to touch. FIFA investigated and then banned him from future events. He was no longer the mysterious butcher turned celebrity chef. He had become a symbol of ego and excess, a walking meme that refused to fade. His empire began to crumble, with multiple restaurants closing, profits falling, and lawsuits piling up. In 2025, even his flagship London location reported declining revenue that led to losses to the tune of over £5 million, and the once endless lines outside his steakhouses had vanished, resulting in the closure of 5 locations. Salt Bae, who once made the world hungry for his charm, was now being eaten alive by his own fame. The story of Nusret Göçe started long before the sunglasses, the white shirt, and the viral swagger. He was first a boy from Pashali, a small, forgotten village in eastern Turkey. Nusret Göçe was born in 1983, the son of a miner who spent most of his days underground. Money was scarce, food was simple, and school was a luxury few could afford for long. By the time he was 13, Nusret had dropped out entirely, trading his textbooks for a butcher's apron. He began his apprenticeship in a cramped local shop where the air was heavy with the smell of raw meat and sawdust. The days started before sunrise and didn't end until long after dark. 13 hours of hauling carcasses, sharpening knives, and cleaning floors slick with fat. He earned barely enough to eat, but he learned the blade and the anatomy of an animal down to the bone. In those dimly lit stalls, among men twice his age, Nusret developed a reverence for precision and presentation, the kind of detail that would one day become his trademark. It wasn't glamour that pushed him forward, it was hunger, the literal kind at first, and later something deeper. He dreamed of Istanbul, of larger markets where his craft could mean something more than survival. Every cut he made was practice for a life he couldn't yet see, but refused to stop chasing. In those early years, before anyone called him Salt Bae, he was just a boy sharpening knives, dreaming of a world far beyond the butcher's block. By his early 20s, Nusret had mastered the cut, the balance, and the rhythm of butchery, but he was restless. The local trade could only take him so far, and he wanted to see how the masters did it, how the finest meat in the world was treated in places where dining was an art form, not a chore. In 2007, after saving what little money he could, which was about $3,400, he made a decision that his family called foolish. He bought a one-way ticket out of Turkey. He traveled first to Buenos Aires, Argentina, a country where steak was sacred. There he watched gauchos grill over open fires, studied how they cut against the grain, how they honored every texture and flavor of the cow. From there, he found his way to the United States, sneaking into kitchens to observe techniques and ask questions in broken English. He was broke, sleeping in back rooms and scraping by. But those years taught him more than any classroom ever could. He didn't just learn how to cook meat, he learned how to make it perform. When he returned to Istanbul in 2010, he was 27 and full of ideas. He borrowed a small space in the upmarket district of Etiler and opened a modest 8-table steakhouse he called Nusret, a fusion of his name and the Turkish word for meat. His technique began drawing attention from locals, then from travelers, and finally from one of Turkey's most powerful businessmen, Ferit Şahenk, the billionaire behind the Doğuş Group. Şahenk saw what others didn't, which was potential for a brand, not just a restaurant. With his backing, Nusret's dream leapt from a tiny Istanbul shop to the world stage. What started as a one-man gamble with $3,400 and a butcher's knife was now becoming a global empire in the making, and it was only the beginning. On January 7th, 2017, a 36-second Instagram clip changed everything. In it, a man in tight black jeans and a white shirt stood over a wooden cutting board, his knife gliding through a slab of Ottoman steak. As he finished the cut, he raised his right arm high, wrist bent like a dancer, and let salt fall from his fingertips, cascading down his forearm before landing in delicate grains across the meat. It was sensual, absurd, and mesmerizing, and a strange fusion of culinary skill and performance art. The internet had never seen anything like it. By the time the clip hit its first million views, the comments had already given him a name: Salt Bae. Within days, the video had spread across every corner of the web. Twitter edits, GIF loops, remix memes. Celebrities were posting it. Leonardo DiCaprio watched him slice steak in Istanbul with fascination. David Beckham mimicked the salt pose on his own feed and was also seen in the restaurant. Halloween that year was full of white-shirted imitators flicking imaginary salt in bars and dorm rooms. Even athletes began celebrating goals with the same wrist flick, turning a chef's flourish into a global gesture. For Nusret, this was destiny. Now everybody wants to be a butcher because of me, he told The Times. They want to be Salt Bae. I'm an inspiration to a lot of people. His Instagram following exploded into the tens of millions. People weren't just coming to eat steak anymore, they were coming for him. The performance, the photo, the sprinkle. In a world obsessed with virality, he had turned a pinch of salt into a passport to fame. Salt Bae wasn't just a meme anymore, he was a movement. Riding the wave of his sudden global fame, Nusret went on an expansion spree unlike anything the restaurant world had seen. New openings followed one after another. Dubai, Miami, New York, London, Los Angeles, Dallas, Boston, Las Vegas. Each launch felt more like a red carpet premiere than a restaurant debut. Paparazzi snapped photos of him slicing steaks in slow motion, sprinkling salt over $1,400 tomahawk steaks as celebrities lined up to film their moment under the lights. But what Salt Bae was selling wasn't food, it was theater. The menu was a supporting act. Steaks came wrapped in 24-karat gold foil, gleaming under the chandelier light. Diners paid $1,800 for a golden tomahawk, $100 for a burger glimmering in edible gold, and as much as $10 or 11 pounds for a can of Red Bull or sparkling water. It was luxury redefined, but mostly by optics. Every table turned into a stage. Every phone became a camera. He built an empire on the idea that dining could be performance art, a place where food, fame, and money met in one shining frame. When fans or diners complained, he brushed it off or ignored them entirely. To him, it wasn't arrogance, it was branding. Every receipt was a 5-figure total, was proof that people would pay any price to be part of the moment. But beneath the shimmer of gold steaks and champagne laughter, something was beginning to rot. The issues were small at first, like uneven service, overcooked meat, the sense that the show mattered more than the steak. Diners complained about the price and the quality of the food.
£100, absolutely not. But the sides were awful. If you blindfolded me, I couldn't tell the difference between that and something from Wetherspoons.
Talk to me about Salt Bae's golden steak. Did you try that?
I had a steak there.
Yeah.
So basically, the three of us went for lunch, didn't drink, and it was £900.
What?
Yeah. But the video did really well, so we earned good off it. But
Yet, for a while, no one cared. The world was still filming, still sprinkling, still applauding. For a time, it didn't matter if the steak was average. The experience was everything. The lucky ones caught Salt Bae himself at their table, filmed him slicing, posing, and feeding them like royalty. A meal became a viral moment, a status symbol, proof that you'd brushed against internet legend. Patrons flew across countries just to sit in his presence, to have salt sprinkled from his fingers onto their plate. The cameras didn't stop rolling even as the food cooled. But the problem with selling access instead of flavor is that access doesn't really scale. Nusret couldn't be in 10 cities at once. The empire he'd built on his own charisma was suddenly full of restaurants without him, locations that promised the same spectacle but delivered a hollow imitation. At the New York and London branches, customers complained that the magic was gone, that the servers mimicked his movements without the same flair. The gold leaf remained, the prices remained, but the energy didn't. Without Salt Bae himself, the illusion meant nothing. The empire had grown too big, too fast, stretching a single man's image across continents. The brand's equation was simple and unsustainable. Experiencing something greater than food was a fragile value proposition.
Enjoy. Thank you.
The problem soon became impossible to ignore. In London, where Salt Bae's Knightsbridge restaurant had debuted to crowds and tabloid frenzy, the buzz turned bitter. Within months, the place was ranking near the very bottom of TripAdvisor, 14,000th out of over 22,000 restaurants in the city, with an average score of 2.8 stars, which is remarkably low. Reviews poured in, calling it terrible, expensive, and not even good enough for the hype, with future diners advised to not go there at all. One claimed in a video that the sides were so awful and cold, they could have come from a pub microwave. Another said the 680-pound steak was fine, but nothing you couldn't get at a mid-range grill for a tenth of the price.
600 quid, absolutely not. But the sides were awful. If you blindfolded me, I couldn't tell the difference between that and something from Wetherspoons.
Talk to me about Salt Bae's golden steak. Did you try that?
I had a steak there. Yeah. So basically, the three of us went for lunch, didn't drink, and it was 900 quid.
What?
Yeah. But the video did really well, so we earned good off it. But
across the Atlantic, his New York burger spin-off met the same fate. Promised as a more casual way to experience the Salt Bae brand, it became infamous as one of the worst restaurants in New York City. Customers complained about the $100 gold burgers. Flashy, dry, and flavorless. The buns glittered, but the meat underneath was rubbery and bland. Others described their steaks as burnt on the outside, raw inside, while some got the reverse, gray and tough. It was a pattern repeated across reviews from Miami to Boston. The show was there, but the substance wasn't. The same diners who once paid extra just to be filmed now started uploading their disappointment instead. One video review summed it up perfectly. If you blindfolded me, I couldn't tell the difference between this and a chain steakhouse.
600 quid, absolutely not. But the sides were awful. If you blindfolded me, I couldn't tell the difference between that and something from Wetherspoons.
As the reviews worsened, Salt Bae's response wasn't humility, it was hubris. His Instagram morphed into a shrine to his own legend. Between shirtless gym selfies and flexed poses in designer suits, he began posting restaurant recipes like trophies. An $8,000 dinner bill here, a $47,000 table there, and one staggering $167,000 check captioned with his signature phrase, "Quality, never expensive." Each post was meant to awe his followers, to remind the world of his luxury, but it only deepened the divide between the image and the reality. In interviews, he doubled down on the same mantra, spoken with the same calm certainty. We are not expensive. Quality never expensive. To him, the numbers weren't obscene. They were proof of status. He saw himself not as a chef, but as a brand, an inspiration. Now kids want to be Salt Bae, he told one reporter. I'm an idol. The problem was that the world had stopped seeing him that way. His endearing confidence now looked like tone-deaf arrogance. Salt Bae's empire wasn't just crumbling under bad reviews, it was now colliding with politics. His first brush with controversy came not long after his viral explosion, when fans scrolling through his Instagram unearthed an old photo of him paying tribute to Fidel Castro just days after the Cuban leader's death. The timing couldn't have been worse. He had just opened a restaurant in Miami, a city home to nearly 500,000 Cuban exiles, many of whom had fled Castro's regime. The image of Salt Bae mourning a dictator didn't sit well. Local patrons began canceling reservations and calling for boycotts. Good luck staying in business, Salt Bae, one comment read. He should open a restaurant in Cuba and sprinkle his salt over there. Another customer who had 2 reservations at his Miami branch said, "I got a reservation for this upcoming Friday. Eat a dick, Salt Bae." The backlash grew loud enough that he deleted the photo entirely, hoping the moment would pass. But it was only a preview of what was to come. Less than a year later, in September 2018, a far more explosive scandal erupted when Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro dined at one of Salt Bae's restaurants in Istanbul. At the time, Venezuela was in free fall, the economy collapsing, food shortages leaving families starving. As images surfaced of Maduro feasting on tomahawk steaks and puffing cigars while Salt Bae personally served him, outrage spread across the world. As a Venezuelan, it angers me seeing my president feasting on a meal while my family is starving. One comment read. Another went viral. Food tastes better when you know the folks back home are dying of hunger.
La sal, mira. Nosotros estamos
The backlash was severe. Protesters gathered outside Salt Bae's Miami and New York locations, holding signs that read, "Did you know, Salt Bae, that while you dined with Maduro, Venezuelan children were dying of malnutrition?" Videos of the protests circulated online, drawing attention from American politicians.
Dozens of Venezuelans and Cubans living in the United States called for a boycott of the restaurant that hosted a banquet for Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in a protest in Miami. With Venezuelan flags and signs repudiating Salt, as the owner of the luxurious business is known, the protesters urged him to leave Miami, a city where a significant number of Venezuelan exiles reside.
What happened with this check is that he is irresponsible and thinks that since he has money he can do whatever he wants and change the mindset of millions of people.
U.S. senators, particularly Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio, publicly condemned the dinner, calling it an insult to the Venezuelan people. He said, "I don't know who this weirdo #Salt Bae is, but the guy he is so proud to host is not the president of Venezuela. He's actually the overweight dictator of a nation where 30% of the people eat only once a day, and infants are suffering from malnutrition." Under pressure, Salt Bae deleted the videos and photos of the meal from his social media, but he never apologized. The damage, however, was done. The dangers of turning dining into theater finally caught up with Salt Bae in the most literal, devastating way possible. It began with a small scare. A rooftop fire at his flagship Istanbul restaurant. Smoke poured into the early morning air, black and heavy, prompting firefighters to rush to the scene. No one was hurt, and the blaze was quickly contained. The cause was never fully explained, but it was a warning sign about how far the show had gone. That warning was ignored. Months later, the same obsession led to something far worse. During one of the restaurant's signature flame shows, a bartender poured an unidentified flammable liquid into the flames. The liquid exploded, shooting fire across the bar and into the dining area. Flames engulfed several customers seated just a few feet away. Among them was a young Czech model and YouTuber named Tynush Treshkanova. The explosion set her dress ablaze, and by the time it was extinguished, over 35% of her body had been burned. She spent months in the hospital undergoing painful surgeries and rehabilitation. Videos of the explosion flooded the internet, spreading faster than any of Salt Bae's steak clips ever had. At first, the restaurant remained silent. There was no immediate statement, no apology. Reports later alleged that staff destroyed footage from security cameras and that no compensation was offered to the victims at the time. A year later, press coverage confirmed that Tynush had received no restitution for an incident that permanently changed her life. When Salt Bae finally did pay compensation months down the line, it wasn't even to the victims of the fire, but to 4 of his former employees in an unrelated lawsuit. For a man who had built his fortune on this was one performance that left scars. Not on the internet, but on real people who had simply come for dinner. Behind the gold-plated steaks and choreographed smiles, Salt Bae's empire was built on an internet culture that many of his former employees would later describe as toxic, controlling, and exploitative. As his fame grew, so did the number of complaints from the people who worked behind the spectacle. In city after city, from London to New York to Miami, former staff began speaking out about what life inside a Nusret restaurant was really like. Words like dictatorial, authoritarian, and God complex appeared again and again in their testimonies. One manager once described the environment as gold from the outside, but rotten from the inside. Another called it the Hunger Games. You never knew who would be fired next. Several said they were forced to repeat exaggerated stories to customers about the restaurant's ingredients and quality, instructed to lie about where the meat came from, or pressured to make the brand seem more elite than it really was. The lawsuits followed quickly. In one of the earliest cases, 4 former grillmen accused Salt Bae of taking a 3% cut from their tips and firing them in retaliation when they confronted him. They described him as an authoritarian boss who likened himself to Tony Montana, belittled staff publicly, and refused to comply with local labor laws. The case ended with a $230,000 settlement, though Salt Bae denied wrongdoing, saying the workers were simply not good enough. Another suit in 2020 led to a $300,000 payout for similar tip skimming and unpaid overtime claims. Other accounts were even darker. Female staff said they were told to wear revealing club outfits instead of the required uniforms, and when one waitress complained about being harassed by a customer, she was told to just play along. Some migrant employees alleged their passports were taken to keep them from leaving the country, while others reported working 70-plus hour weeks with no overtime pay. One insider lawsuit accused the company of misclassifying employees to avoid paying overtime. It was a case that was later dismissed, but it exposed the pattern for everyone to see. By 2022, everything was clear. The empire that had dazzled the world with its shine was breaking from within. The same obsessive perfectionism that once powered Salt Bae's rise had curdled into control and intimidation. As one former employee put it, who is surprised that Salt Bae demanded female staff give him massages? I mean, look at him and his persona. Of course he's that guy. Scale exposes culture, and for Salt Bae, the bigger the brand became, the more it revealed what was really underneath. As the lawsuits piled up behind the scenes, Salt Bae's relationship with his customers began to fracture just as publicly. The shine of luxury started to look more like a scam. The illusion that had drawn people in, that they were paying for unmatched quality, started to crumble the moment receipts began circulating online. There were the viral examples, but the breaking point came with a story out of Miami that symbolized everything wrong with the empire. A customer named Dwayne Miranda had ordered 2 standard $275 tomahawk steaks and a rack of lamb for his table. When the bill arrived, he was stunned to see a total of over $5,000. The restaurant had, without notice, served the golden tomahawk, a version wrapped in edible gold leaf, and charged $1,000 apiece. When Miranda disputed the charge, staff insisted he had ordered the gold version, and the argument escalated to the point that management called the police. To avoid further confrontation, Miranda was pushed to pay the full amount, but he refused, and later went public with his story. "They insisted we asked for it, but we didn't," he said. "We thought it was just the normal presentation." His post went viral, sparking a new wave of outrage against Salt Bae's business practices. Soon after, other diners began questioning not just the prices, but the authenticity of the product itself. Reports surfaced that staff were told to pass off cheaper cuts as premium meat, pour leftover wine into new glasses, and even falsely label non-halal steaks as halal. The promise of fine dining had become a case study in deceit. By the time the viral bills and complaints hit their peak, Salt Bae's reputation for luxury had flipped entirely. To many, his restaurants weren't temples of taste, but shrines to ego, where the real commodity wasn't the food, but the illusion of prestige. And you would think that would be the worst of it, but Salt Bae still had further to fall. It was supposed to be a football's most sacred moment the night Argentina lifted the World Cup in Qatar, a celebration decades in the making. Players were in tears, the stadium shaking with emotion, fans roaring around the world, and then out of nowhere, there he was, Salt Bae strutting onto the pitch like he belonged there. Wearing his trademark sunglasses and smug grin, he weaved through the celebrating players, phone in hand, desperately trying to secure selfies. Cameras caught him pestering Lionel Messi, tugging at his arm, blocking his path, insisting on a photo while Messi tried to walk away. The famous chef who sprinkled salt over steaks was now clawing for attention at the center of global sport. But it didn't stop there. As the players cradled the World Cup trophy, an object that only the champions and heads of state are permitted to touch, Salt Bae grabbed it. He posed, kissed it, even bit one of the players' medals for the cameras. The backlash was so intense that within 24 hours, FIFA president Gianni Infantino, who had previously been seen dining at Nusret, quietly unfollowed Salt Bae on Instagram. The organization then launched a formal investigation into how he gained unauthorized access to the field. The verdict was a breach of World Cup protocol. Salt Bae was banned from all future FIFA events, a punishment later echoed by other sporting bodies, including the 2023 US Open Cup final, which also barred him from attendance. It was the moment his fame fully imploded. Weeks after the World Cup fiasco, Salt Bae finally broke his silence. Sitting across from an interviewer, he appeared calm, composed, and completely unaware of how much damage had been done. When asked about the incident, he didn't apologize or express regret. Instead, he framed the whole thing as a misunderstanding born out of passion. "It was a combination of my love for Argentina and my excitement," he said. "I love Argentina. I've lived there. Many of the team have come to my restaurant. I didn't feel like a stranger. It was a special moment." Then, with a small smirk, he added, "There were 2 billion people watching the World Cup and 5 billion people talking about me." That single line summed up everything critics had been saying for years. Even in what was supposed to be a moment of humility, he turned it into a boast. Salt Bae didn't seem to grasp that the backlash wasn't about passion or excitement, it was about entitlement. He had treated one of the world's most meaningful events like another stage for his performance. The media didn't buy his explanation, and if Salt Bae thought time would heal the wound, he was mistaken. If the World Cup debacle marked the moment Salt Bae fell from grace, the Champions League after-party incident was the humiliating confirmation that he couldn't buy his way back in. It happened in 2025 at an exclusive celebration for players and officials following the final match. The kind of event he once would have glided into unnoticed, camera ready and grinning. But this time, things went differently. Dressed in his signature fitted white shirt and tinted shades, Salt Bae tried to enter the private venue, only to be stopped cold by security. Video captured the moment, him standing awkwardly outside as staff firmly denied him access, then escorted him away in full view of onlookers recording on their phones.
Is that? This is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.
The footage spread across social media like wildfire. Headlines read, "Salt Bae denied entry to Champions League after-party," and tabloids framed it as poetic justice. A man who had once forced himself into history now couldn't even get through the door. Comment sections lit up with mockery. "Most deserved. He's so washed it's unreal," one user wrote. Another joked that he thinks he could be there because he can sprinkle salt of his elbow onto steak. In a last-ditch attempt to control the narrative, Salt Bae posted that he hadn't been there for the party at all, just to meet fans and sign autographs. His statement to a news outlet read, "After the Champions League final match, we arrived at the hotel in UEFA bus. The reason we were there at that moment was because of our thousands of fans who wanted to see us there. As always, I was in that area to return their love and to take photos. Due to the busyness that occurred, while I was waiting for my vehicle to go to my own hotel, my back turned in front of the door, there was a directive from Mr. Dorman. There was no organization like invitation party in the middle, hence the news that I was not included in the party. It's all just baseless." But nobody bought it. The story wasn't about what he claimed to be doing, it was about what he no longer was: relevant, welcomed, or respected. The man who once walked among champions now stood outside their celebrations, not as a guest, but as the embodiment of how fast fame fades when ego overshadows everything else. The empire that once seemed untouchable was now shrinking in plain sight. After years of boasting about global domination, Salt Bae's restaurant chain was quietly retreating from the very markets that had defined its success. In the United States, the collapse was particularly brutal. His once hyped meatpacking district restaurant in New York shut its doors as part of a strategic operational shift. In Las Vegas, the branch he'd opened in 2022 closed just 3 years later. In 2025, despite its prime location on the Strip, what had once been 7 U.S. restaurants dwindled to just 2 survivors, one in Midtown Manhattan, the other in Miami. Across the Atlantic, the story wasn't much better. In London, the flagship Knightsbridge restaurant that once made headlines for 1,800-pound meals and 11-pound cans of Red Bull began reporting steep financial drops. Annual profits fell from £3.3 million to £2.2 million, forcing management to slash prices in a desperate bid to draw customers back. For a brief moment, revenue ticked up again to around £10 million, but the victory was hollow. In 2024, filings revealed the group had recorded a £5.5 million pre-tax loss, largely due to US write-offs. Meanwhile, in Greece, the once bustling steakhouse that served as a magnet for luxury tourists saw bookings plummet from 600 diners a day to barely 200. It wasn't an isolated case. The entire brand was cooling off worldwide. Where there were once waiting lists, there were now empty tables and discount menus. On social media, the number told a similar story. For years, Salt Bae's Instagram had been a pipeline of viral content and endless growth. But now his follower count was slipping down roughly $120,000 a month, the steepest decline he'd seen since his rise in 2017. In business terms, it was a textbook implosion. The timeline of openings and closures now read like a reversal of fortune, from global dominance to regional retreat. The symbol of Salt Bae's empire, like the gold-coated tomahawk steak, was finally gone. Once the crown jewel of his menu and a social media status symbol, the $1,800 spectacle had become an albatross. As profits dwindled and customer outrage intensified, Salt Bae quietly began removing it from menus across key locations, replacing the extravagant item with more approachable cuts and modestly priced dishes. It was an unmistakable admission that the brand's formula was failing. The very thing that made his restaurants famous had become the reason people stayed away. In London, once notorious for its astronomical bills, price reductions rolled out like a white flag. A meal that used to cost thousands could now be had for a few hundred, but even that wasn't enough to draw diners back in droves. The brand's aura of exclusivity had evaporated, but its reputation for gouging remained. Behind the scenes, the cost-cutting ran even deeper. Staff in some European locations reportedly turned off heating systems during peak hours to reduce operational expenses, forcing diners to sit in barely warmed rooms while paying premium prices. Former employees described frantic measures to slash overheads, cutting staff hours, thinning kitchen supplies, recycling leftover wine, all while the chain tried to project its usual image of luxury online. But the problem wasn't just perception, it was math. Even with the prices reduced, Salt Bae's restaurants were still far beyond the reach of ordinary customers, and the wealthy clientele who once flocked there had moved on to newer, trendier dining experiences. For the first time since his viral explosion, the empire that ran on flash and FOMO was feeling the chill, and no amount of salt could cover the cracks forming beneath the gold. By 2025, Salt Bae's global conquest had stalled, and what was left of his empire was being quietly restructured under a new strategy, which was survival. Gone were the days of rapid-fire openings in luxury capitals and viral launch parties. Plans for restaurants in Mexico City, Rome, and Milan were shelved indefinitely. Instead, the focus shifted to smaller, safer bets like selective openings across Europe and Latin America, where the Nusret name still carried a glow of prestige. The real strongholds, however, were closer to home. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Istanbul became the beating heart of the brand, once more markets that still revered Salt Bae's persona and had the deep-pocketed clientele to sustain its theatrics. In these cities, the chef remained a local icon, more myth than man, his image plastered across billboards and airport lounges. A new branch in Ibiza was teased through cryptic Instagram posts, but even that announcement was met with a fraction of the excitement it would have drawn years earlier. The daily barrage of shirtless workout videos and celebrity feedings slowed down. Instead, Salt Bae's post featured construction clips of new restaurant interiors, reels of marble counters being polished, and slow-motion teasers of yet another Nusret sign being unveiled, which was an indirect attempt to project resilience. But the influencers who once lined up to film with him were nowhere to be found. Salt Bae's rise wasn't an accident. It was a perfect storm. His success tapped into the deepest mechanics of the internet, a visual hook, a simple ritual, and a symbol of status that anyone could imitate. The timing couldn't have been better. Instagram and Twitter were at their cultural peak in 2017, the age of the looping clip, of short attention spans and perfect aesthetics. Salt Bae's videos fit that ecosystem like a glove. The experience he offered was rare, almost ritualistic, to be served by him. People weren't buying steaks, they were buying a brush with internet royalty, a moment of proximity to fame. But the same forces that fueled his rise guaranteed his fall. Without reforms, without depth behind the show, collapse was inevitable. Had Salt Bae learned to slow down, his empire might still have stood tall. The formula for redemption wasn't complicated, it just required humility, something fame had long since burned out of him. Most of all, Salt Bae needed to separate himself from the business. The meme had to evolve into a brand with governance, not just a personality cult. His story now stands as an example of mistaking attention for admiration.